What's good, Royal Family? Let's go live, y'all. Before we get started, shout out to Red Wings hockey. I hear you. What's going on with those that are, just tuning in? Shout out to y'all. Today we're gonna be talking about Kratom. Actually, learned a little bit more about it. This is a this is very controversial. Let me just say that, okay? But I think that what I did find on it is important. So after we listen to this Rocky Bad song called Mood, then we will get started with the show. Shout out to Jagger. I get a whole fight. One nigga, one bitch, I both like. Right, don't fight, right. I'm a moon bitch. I make hating bitches get on cool shit. Moon bitch. I'm not the same girl you went to school with. I'm a moon bitch. I make hating bitches get on cool shit. Moon bitch. I'm not the same girl you went to school with. I got a message to the ops. Where the fuck y'all at? Some niggas that flew y'all out, we can bring y'all back. Talking shit y'all not about. I lay y'all flat. All that popping at the mouth, I don't play all that. Give a fuck about your nigga, sis. End of the story, I ain't fucking on no nigga. If he can't do nothing for me, why your nigga on my head? Cause he don't think you important with that shitty ass head. And I know your pussy boring. Tighten up with all them loose ends. I don't care if bitches cool, no new friends. If these bitches had a us, where the proof then? Long as Rocky gotta say, I'ma choose win. Lose win. If I even little body with the titties out. Niggas fake, I don't care to burn my city out. They full of hate when I'm up, bitch, I'm really out. They in the way, and my nigga bring the city out. I'm a real bitch, I never needed a yes man. Tell them tap in, I never need to impress them. Rather press them, I never needed to switch them. Don't give a fuck where I'm going, I bring the strap in. Patron slipper, I'm fucking my own nigga. Really on my shit, so they asking what's wrong with her. Really learn my lesson from trusting the wrong niggas. If it ain't no crack, what the fuck is you on, nigga? Ruthless and really a rude bitch. If I can't use my hands to touch my use spit. If it ain't no bands, you touching, you useless. If you ain't my mans, ain't fucking with you, bitch. I cut bitches off and let them be. That shit is mine, as long as bitches don't speak on the beat. Then never mind them, I got bitches that's in love with me and never like me. Got designer on my feet and shit, I barely even like. I'm a pretty ass bitch, ain't no way a nigga leave. Treat me like a goddess, but my attitude is dingy. Somebody gotta die, ain't no way it could be even. I ain't taking nothing back, cause if I say it, then I mean it. I'm a bull, bitch. I make hating bitches get on cool shit. I'm not the same girl you went to school with. I make hating bitches get on cool shit. I'm not the same girl you went to school with. And now, beef with a little bitch, especially when you bring it to her nice little shit. I cannot beef with a little bitch, especially when you bring it to her nice little shit. Shout out to the chat. I'm not gonna actually cam up this live, but I want to move this. Y'all, it was raining hard as hell. And guess who got caught in the rain? Well, there was really no avoiding it. And we're talking about like it really, like when I was in my car driving to and fro, right? It really felt like I was at the car wash, like with the little bristles and all that and stuff. It sounded like that. It felt like that. Like it was just really crazy. But getting in the car, I just got literally soaked and it messed up my hair some. But, I came home, put my PJs on and was like, ooh, let's look into this Kratom situation, right? With this situation with Dre McCray or Andre. It just sounds weird to call her Dre, but anyway, Andrea McCray or Dre McCray and Marvon is his actual name, or Von McCray. If you didn't know, he is in a hospital right now. He is in a coma. I do have a little bit of, I should have turned that down. I do have a little bit of information on that though. First off, I want to state that when this all started, she kind of looked like this. Well, not kind of, that's her and him in the picture. And as you see, knives are always a thing in the situation. Now, I'm not really sure why, and I don't really have a big problem with this, but this does cause concern to me that allegedly the mother, Letitia Bias, that's what sources are saying, is accepting cash apps, right?
of course, in a lot of crime situations, people will, duplicate um people's cash apps or whatever in hopes that maybe the money will go in their account instead of the real person. I'm just wondering why she needs donations at this time. I mean, unless she's gonna use it for an attorney. um I'm unaware if there's a GoFundMe account or whatever at this point. Like, I don't know what we're raising money for. We should just be trying to get the police to pay attention and start a case and ask them questions if they're not going to start one. However, it appears, as you can see at the top, um, it says update. The hospital is locked down for all visitors of Vaughn. Not even Dre can visit any longer. Now, this was posted on the 10th in a Facebook group. I am weary, I'm going to say, about the Facebook group situations when it comes to certain players in the game, like Molly Go Lightly or Without a Crystal Ball, situations like that, because A, they're not shit. B, they dox people, and 9 times out of 10, people have their real name on their Facebook. And C, like, they're just on bullshit. All they care about is money. All they care about is sensationalizing it. They want to, motherfucking get a reality show, become Nancy Grace. You know what I mean? It's just real whatever. And we're going to touch base on that more. But if you didn't see the video that I put together on the Krama community that they're in, they have took crime and drama and put it together. And it's a lot of bad acting, a lot of racism, a lot of doxing, a lot of the same behavior that goes on here in these ones. And that was the reason why I looked at it. I also do got to get the IRL version out as well, which the IRL sector is in real life, where they actually stream their life live. They'll do sleep streams, etc. Anyway, back to this. So, I'm just weary about the Facebook group situation, and I want my people to be weary about it as well. Just, going forward, if you got a Facebook and you interested in finding out minute by minute alleged information on, the situation or whatever, it is available. However, the people that have started this group, because they've done it before with other groups, and again, they follow certain type of cases that are highly sensationalized. They're not going to pick up a case that like nobody's really ever heard of, or certain other cases that are not really pushed out by the masses, the mainstream media included. So again, I would just like to, make you guys aware that also Instagram groups, etc., they're out here working and they're gaining followers and shit. And the only reason why I'm not going to shout out the group or put the name to the groups, there's a couple, is because I don't know who really runs it. But I did see Molly Go Lightly and Without a Crystal Ball in the groups. Okay. So there's just a little bit more information or whatever if you want to look, if you guys can even read that. I do apologize. At least it's letting me clips. I apologize when I was live yesterday, because I was supposed to do basically the introduction for this Marvon McCray situation, right, with Dre McCray, and him being in the hospital. And if you don't know, if this is your first time hearing about it, basically there's a social media influencer by the name of Andrea McCray. She has a husband named Marvon McCray, aka Von McCray. And recently he allegedly tried to commit suicide in a tin, like a regular shed that you could buy at Menards and just have them come and assemble it. But I had questions with that. They did not find the cops say that they did not find any marks on his neck, which is not conducive to like if somebody actually like hung theirself and was hanging there for a matter of time. And I remember also, while I was looking at either Molly Go Lightly or Without a Crystal Ball, before I found out that they're pieces of shit and liars, and how they go about researching crime is just trash. I heard some contradicting type of situations. So anyway, long story short, I don't want to get off into that because like I said, there's a lot. I almost wasn't even gonna go live tonight, but I did say I was gonna go live last night when I was done. But I don't know. There's some shit that we gotta look into, and I feel like even more with this case, I have to like, bro, like you can't. I don't trust. Like sometimes in certain cases, I don't trust who's putting out the information, and if the information is correct. But I did hear from the mother, and basically in this video we're going to find out more about Kratom because I have to make a correction. I again did not say that I knew about Kratom, or I didn't come up here and act like I was a Kratom expert, nor did Jeanette. Shout out to Jeanette as well. Hey Miss Ray, what's good? Crazy Third Eye. Yes, I know the grandma raised him, and then the mom got him back, and then or they've been working on their relationship allegedly per se, but he was excited to be the mother. I don't know. She is obsessed with knives, yes. Girl, we're finna hear from him in a minute, y'all. So of course I got some boring ass shit that we are going to look at. Allegedly, like if you don't really know about Kratom or you're not really interested, you look at it like, oh, it's just a tea and they used it, or it's this, that, and the fifth, or whatever. Like some of what we're gonna look at may be kind of just boring a little bit, I'll admit, but that's where the receipts is at. Like I wanted to hear from people. We heard from Jeanette. Shout out to Jeanette. I appreciated her coming up here. I apologize, I was a little tired yesterday, but I appreciated her coming up here because I never asked anybody, like, have you, I really just found out about Kratom. So that hearing from somebody that had actually been on it, and I'm saying been on it like she used it as like a drug or whatever. It is like a tea, it's a supplement. It isn't a supplement like department or whatever. However, I did research it more, and I did find that in certain situations and certain percentages, it is linked to seizures and even death, like Jeanette had stated before. So we are going to look at the dependency of Kratom. We're going to hear about why some people stop taking Kratom. Does Kratom cause brain swelling or seizures? We're going to look at, just briefly, we will readdress this though, the difference between seizures and epilepsy, because allegedly Marvon or somebody, Dre, had told somebody that he was epileptic. Whatever. Did I say that right? And that may be questionable to me because does the grandmother document that he had like epilepsy before? You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to look also at what being an addict to Kratom feels like. We're going to listen to a melanated brother talk about how his brother overdosed on Kratom and his feeling. And I was going to kick this one, but on second thought, I'm going to keep it. We're going to listen to another man talk about his overdose of Kratom. We're going to look at a couple of news clips about Kratom going back like 4 years ago. And I think one of them at least is, kind of current or recent. And they're talking about overdose in the communities or whatever. I literally could have sat there. If I pulled up all of them, I could have probably made about an hour-long video out of just like news clips on it. But then we're going to listen to a man talk about that he felt dumb basically because too much Kratom definitely equals a bad time. And he's going to document his encounter with Kratom. However, first, I want us to listen to this video. Let me move us over there. This video where Don McCray speaks in this video. Obviously, this was before the coma and stuff like that. But this lady, shout out to Mono. I'm not even gonna try to butcher the rest of it, child. I'm gonna give y'all the link as always. I am subscribed to this channel from the channel where I research and stuff like that things. So I'm going to be checking. I've subscribed to a lot of people that are talking about this. Again, I'm not saying that everybody that's talking about this is full of shit, but if they're getting their information from Molly Golightly or without a crystal ball, I want to add caution there. That's all I'm going to say for now. However, drop the link for the video that we're going to watch and let's take a look at it. It's called Marvon McCray Leaked Breakup. He said that he would not wake up if he didn't leave.
He's relaying details about why he needs to leave the house. And as you,
I think we missed a
he's
second.
relaying details about why he needs to leave the house. And as you hear him, he isn't escalated. He is calm.
Okay.
I don't know if he knows that he's even being recorded. She has admitted in the past to act home, and the doctors said that he did not have it. So here is the audio, which again was provided to a friend of hers and then given to Without a Crystal Ball.
Okay, I'm done.
So I could possibly have PTSD. You know what that is?
Nope.
That's a post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that anything that happened in the past can hurt you really bad. It's almost like your memory compressed it, but it like keeps flashing back out at you, and then you know it's almost like your brain is sick.
So I hope you guys can hear that, and if you can't, what I'll do is I'll just isolate the audio. I'm gonna have to I can enhance the audio or whatever, because I've never seen this clip. But what he's talking about right now, let me know if you can hear him good enough at least. But and sometimes I don't even think about, because StreamYards doesn't have a way to turn up like the audio of a clip. Like you can't like enhance it or whatever. But yeah, so just let me know. But he's talking about how he believes that he may have PTSD, and that could be very real. PTSD is real, and yeah, so I hope you guys can hear it. This video plays for about 16 more minutes.
So what I'm gonna go do is I'm gonna go get checked out for my brain. Now the thing is that that's not until Monday. You know what depression is?
Yeah, I know it's depression.
Right now, I am extremely depressed.
I will also add, hold on, I'm gonna go back. I meant to say this earlier. I will also add that Kratom and using it, like overdoing it, right, doing way too much, overdosing to the point almost, can cause depression. And even when you come down off of it and things like that, like when you're withdrawing from it, if you've been using it day after day and mass amounts of it, can cause like aggression, or like you're kind of just aggravated or depressed even, and issues with sleep, bowel things and things like that. But mainly I'm sticking to certain things. What's good, Octavius?
Depression is.
Hey, Sierra.
Right now, I am extremely depressed. I really can't. To me, like to me, it's just the aura is depressing, and in order for me, because to be honest with you, and I'm telling you this with all seriousness, I feel like if I stay in the house again tonight, I might not wake up tomorrow morning. And it's not because I want to hurt myself or harm myself. I'm actually going to get help. I'm a survivor. But I feel like because of the stress, because stress is the #1 killer in America. Because of the stress, I think it might cause me to just stop. I don't know. But in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. Emotionally, that's what I think.
Come here.
Physically, that's all I can feel.
Raza, come here.
even though I don't want to. But that's the only thing that I can do. The only thing I can do is get out of the house. So what I'm gonna do is I've already packed up. I'm gonna leave until Monday. Monday is gonna be the day that I actually get checked out. At that point, then everything else will start coming around.
Is Shayla gonna go with you?
No, he doesn't. I don't want him to go along. Well, I'm not necessarily really. No, he's okay. So I'm gonna take off for a while and then I'll come back. But it's for me to get help, okay? I'm not doing this because I just don't want to be here or I don't want to help nobody or anything like that. I want to be here. But I don't want to lose this.
Don't do that.
I don't want to lose my mind. So in order for me to not do that, sometimes you just have to go.
Are you gonna be gone for a few days, like, or are you gonna come around?
I'm gonna be gone until Monday. Monday's when I'll come back.
I hope you know that when you go to a psychiatrist, sometimes it's not immediate help. It takes a series of appointments in order for you to get better.
Why is she trying to talk him out of going to get help, going to talk to a psychiatrist or anything like that? I get it. I'm not a big pusher of big pharma. I've spoke out against it several times, but talking.
And if you are literally saying that you might not wake up, because that's a hazard, and then he's gonna do that, and he can hit someone. Then I really think you need to go to a hospital.
No, what I'm trying to tell you is the fact of I'm stressed here. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not really up for discussion, but I'm just letting you guys know what's going on.
It's not up for discussion, but you literally,
stop, because
you
you're doing
told.
it right now. I'm literally like.
All I'm doing is talking. That's it.
But you're talking about something that I told you I don't want to talk about.
Marvon, you just told my kids something very heavy that you might not wake up tomorrow.
Yeah, but you're trying to get me to do something that I don't want to do.
Yeah, but you're also obviously live, because how did we get this recording? Or you posted this in a video. You could have definitely told your kids to go in another room. You and dad need to talk.
Marvon, that is something very serious.
Why are you staring at me so hard?
I'm looking at you, but I don't think you understand the weight of what you just told them. That is very serious.
Andrea, a lot of the stuff that's been going on in this house is very serious that I haven't even been able to open my mouth about, but everybody else knows.
So obviously something is going on. He wanted to step away to get some peace of mind. She obviously has an issue with that, and then blaming him. Like, if he's already in a fucked up state of mind, like, why are you being confrontational with him?
Vaughn.
You understand what that says?
Vaughn.
It's important that they know. It's important.
Vaughn.
It's important that you understand.
That you need help. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So allow me to get it on my own and don't push me. The first thing I told you.
I'm not pushing you, but I have to take care of them as well, whether you're here or not, and you telling them something that's severe and serious, it is not okay. We don't know where you're going. We don't know anything.
I don't even know where I'm going, but
then that worries me.
And that's the thing. This is the stuff that stresses me out. This is why I shake and fall and do all types of things because I can't take this. I can't take
Marvon, there's literally, I'm not yelling at you.
I don't want us to be separated.
I'm not
yet.
Okay.
Everything in this relationship right now is just one-sided, and
it's not.
Sometimes it's just
it's not.
I just can't.
And you walk away, Vaughn?
Because you're I feel like you're just trying to keep saying the same thing and trying to get me to understand your point, but you're not really understanding what I'm telling you.
Marvon, I understand clearly, but I don't.
Mentally, I'm about to break down.
Girls, I need you to go to the room. I'm sorry.
You should have been asked them to go to the room. And what is worse? I don't even want to even compare whether Marvon saying that he wanted to possibly, commit suicide, or he was feeling fucked up about being there, but he wants to be there. Obviously, he would want to be there. The children are there. And even though I could have sworn, but I think it came out from Molly Golightly, and without a crystal ball, they were saying that the two girls are Andrea's or Dre's before they had gotten together. But he obviously could have, built a relationship, a fatherly type of relationship with the girls, or arguing right in front of them. You know what I'm saying? Is that healthy as well? She should have been told them to go to another room. Her and him need to talk.
No, you can go in my room.
Right. And then she talking about that she got to be there to take care of the girls whether he's there or not. Well, just because if y'all did break up, that doesn't mean that he couldn't be involved in their lives. He also has a son by her. Like, that's all she cared about was herself. And then her saying, or them implying from what I've seen, that Marvon was like the crazy one or whatever, and he's the one that, you know what I mean? I get it. He felt like he has PTSD that is real. He should go get evaluated for it, check, because PTSD is very real. However, why is she trying to talk him out of this? Like, you want him to be at his best as far as a husband and a father. Well, let him do what he needs to do. And if he's not getting his needs met holistically, right, with the supplements and the meditation or whatever and the fuck they're doing, right, as far as the B6 diet and all that, bro. Right? Look at her in this picture, y'all. Ugh. And this is also because what did come up is before they started the Be Sick diet, I call it the Be Sick diet because you finna be sick. She weighed more, like she was heavier or whatever. And recent pictures of her we seen in the live that we did on this yesterday, she looked very skeletorish, right? And that's the thing. Even when Nature Boy and Carbonation, Melanation did the Be Sick diet, they started looking like Skeletor and Skeletor Red. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he didn't want to eat them same foods or whatever. To me, she's very controlling.
It's literally just concern for you.
Okay, to be honest with you, I really don't feel like you are that concerned.
And
I'm just
okay,
saying,
I know.
your actions are really not speaking.
There's no actions that I'm doing.
Exactly.
Don.
Your actions are not speaking. The only thing you're yelling is you need to get help. You need to
I'm
get help.
not yelling. I'm
I know
not
you're
even.
not yelling. I'm just saying. The only thing I'm hearing is you need to get help. You need to get help. I asked, what do I need to get help with? Oh, you need to go figure that out. Guess what? I'm doing
But
so.
I already told you, and it's not. Our conversations are nowhere near what you're even describing.
I feel like you're not really understanding. The counselors.
Trust me, I understand.
Listen. The counselors, they talk. The only thing they do is they write down everything you want them to know for
Be
the
sick.
psychiatrist. The psychiatrist then will book an appointment, and then after that, you start your sessions. That's how it goes. I'm telling you, bro. I'm asking every single person.
I know, Marvon.
So please stop.
Please.
Yes,
But,
stop.
okay, I hope you know that I'm gonna call someone now that you're leaving.
Andrea, I wish I
So you gonna call somebody because he's worrying about his mental health and he's trying to take care of it. This why I don't like certain type of bitches, bro. Like, I really, that shit gets on my motherfucking nerves. Do not stand in the way of your alleged man or whatever, or your husband or whatever, from getting the help that he needs. He's not going to only, if he needs mental help, you should promote that. You cannot be the answer to every problem or whatever. And there's other ways that she could have still been there to support him, but it's not about him, it's about her.
I would have just been able to get a hotel room, but you don't want to give me anything. I don't have anything to my name because
just
of
asked
you.
for $2,000,
Bro.
$2,000.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going to happen. But, bro, just because I'm asking for it doesn't mean that I'm not going to pay it back, or do I even deserve it?
Why would he need to pay back $2,000 when he generates income as well? The issue is that he wanted to go to a hotel room until it sounds like Monday when he could be seen.
That's what makes it. I feel like shit because I feel like you don't even think I deserve to. This is why I have to go. This is why I have to leave, Andrea.
What is she doing right now? Is she pushing him down? Is she preventing him from leaving? Because I just heard like what seemed like a tussle. I heard some perfume bottles, some lotion bottles, some shit knocking around a little bit. Y'all rewound it a little bit, but let's listen again.
That's what makes it. I feel like shit because I feel like you don't even think I deserve to. This is why I have to go. This is why I have to leave, Andrea.
And the fact that she wasn't speaking during that, he was. This is why I have to go. This is why I have to leave. It was her being the aggressor. Whatever was knocking down, it was because of her ass. Because you would have, if he was knocking shit down and all that, then wouldn't he have been, you know, like I'm saying, bro, to me, I'm just saying, we could have listened to it one more time, but I can't explain it. But in my opinion, I could tell that she was the one that was knocking whatever down. It seemed like somebody knocked into like a closet door and then some perfume or like something had knocked down a little bit or whatever. And I'm wondering where the video is, like what was able to be seen on a video, or was it just audio?
Do I even deserve it? Fine. That's what makes it. I feel like shit because I feel like you don't even think I deserve to. This is why I have to go. This is why I have to leave, Andrea. I can close the door.
So
I agree, J.
Andrea had told her friend that he had done something to the door with his elbow, and it was he that did something to the door. But in that specific audio clip, you can tell that he's telling her that she won't even give him $2,000. Mind you, they are a...
Yes, he is a vet. And at one time he was put in the VA hospital. And now is transferred. Allegedly, the hospital that he's at now, even the wife can't go see him, which is probably a good thing because I don't trust that lady at all.
Married couple and have joint ownership of all of their funds. And she's not allowing him access to his bank accounts, apparently, and won't give him any money in order to get out of the house. And he tells his kids, I don't want to hurt myself. I think something is
right. I swear I heard some hairspray shit. Some shit was tussling or something. I don't know. But they did say that he had a mark on his arm, and I'm wondering if, you know, it's because of her ass, like grabbing him or something like that.
Going to happen to me if I stay in this house.
And I'm not sure, crazy, but he was with that.
And he doesn't say what he thinks is going to happen to himself. He doesn't say why he thinks something will happen to himself. He says, I don't want to do anything to myself. I need to leave to get away from this. And I believe he's saying he needs to get away from his wife, but he doesn't want to say that outright. And he says clearly that there's a lot of things that he's had to hold back and not say. And then when he brings up the money and he brings up the issues, then you hear him say, this is why I need to leave. And then you hear her saying, I'm just closing the door or something like that. And you hear the door slam. And she's the one that claims that she's got her hands on that door. And then to me, it sounded like she went after him because it sounded like he was trying to get away from her and she didn't want him to leave. So she ultimately calls the police, and it's nothing. She said in her own video, he didn't put hands on me, and he doesn't say anything about what she did to him. So right now, what I've been doing is getting a lot of text messages, a lot of conversations, a lot of audio from a lot of the people that were friends with her. And clearly, one of the things that she has repeatedly said in most of these texts is that she does not want him to leave her. She did not want him to go to Georgia. He wanted to go see his family, this again in 2019. She was afraid that if he saw his family, he would leave her. Not long after the altercation breaks out, he then sends a text message to a friend about what's happened. And he says, I think it's not a good
My
idea.
bad, I was muting. I can't even really see these texts, but facts, Vanessa.
For me to stay here. She's attacking me, not allowing me to say anything, and she's yelling and cursing at me. I'm about to literally go insane. And they said, oh gosh, what happened? And he said, she's taking every word I say and getting defensive. She punched the wall because she didn't like what I was saying, and now she's yelling that it is not safe in the house with me, and she took the kids. So if you remember, she had said that she felt like she had to leave because she wasn't safe with him, but it sounds like he's telling people that she wasn't safe, that he didn't feel safe with her. And he said, she didn't take off yet. She came back to argue. I told her to give me 5 minutes. After we got off the phone with you, she said what she took away with it. She said what she took away from it. So did I. After she told me she had something to say to me, she started to yell how she is mentally, then resumed to let me know how much I was a contributor to that. I shook that part off and was trying to apologize and tell her that I'd never wanted that to happen. And I had good intentions in making sure she was comforted.
Yeah, she was giving him Xanax and Ativan. You know what I'm saying? But I agree. I don't even think you should take Xanax and Ativan together. Like, I don't, from what I heard about it, it don't seem like you would want to. I don't know.
Then she got upset.
But yeah, with the Kratom.
That I said that versus me saying I didn't want to have bad intentions after it went downhill.
I'm wondering if yesterday when Just My Five sent me the little bit on Kratom that I had read when Preach had read what he had read on it, I'm wondering if that was just off of like a product type of situation. Like that's what the product had said, because it said that you could take it with any medicine. And I don't know.
It sounds confusing, but it was like I couldn't say anything without it hitting back at me. I think I'll just let her go and cool off. Is that bad? And they responded, I would reach out shortly to show care and concern to make sure that she has the kids and made it safely to wherever they're going, but talk about the return time in the morning. Did the kids see her punch the wall or hear her say anything about it not being safe there with you? So again, she said,
oh, wow, you have the bottle there and it has 0 warnings. Wow.
That he punched the wall. It sounds like Vaughn said she's the one that punched the wall. And he said, okay, I'll do that. They didn't see her punch the wall, but my guess would be they thought I did it because she told them it wasn't safe. They didn't say anything though. And they said, hopefully they didn't hear anything or pay attention to what was said. Try to get some rest tonight and kind of decompress from tonight. Maybe spend some time putting together some of your thoughts and feelings. So then he says, I can't fix things with her. I listened. I took away a lot of things she told me, even though she attacked me by waking me up and tried to force me out on a plane that would leave in an hour, which I could you understand as well, cause she told me her thought process about the matter. But even when I told her that what I learned new and what I needed to improve after the conversation, she yelled at me and told me I didn't get to take certain things away from it. It's like I try to listen to the advice that I get hammered over the head, and then I get hammered over the head. I feel trapped and I feel like I'm not allowed to have those feelings.
Yeah, we went over the suggested intake from the information that I was sent by Just My 5 cents. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna look into Kratom even more after this clip. And I was like, okay, so it's gonna be interesting.
Feelings again, but adhere to everyone else's. This is just too much. So he says that she attacked him when he woke up and tried to get him on a plane.
And she was doing 2 tablespoons.
And then he said, And then he goes on to say that she returned home and said, she came home after a couple of hours after I had texted you. I'm at conflict because I know she doesn't want me to go off now, but the thought of me wanting to go now is why she did what she did. I told her I'm not determined to go, but she said if I do, she doesn't want contact at all. Don't contact the girls, and I needed to take a one-way ticket there. I do want to go because I feel it's good for me, but not if I'm just going so I can be told I'm running away and I can't contact anyone. Now, how do you work with that? Plus, she doesn't ever want the conversation to come up again, or she will do it again. So we can't even talk about it. So she's going to send him to Georgia, but then she's going to accuse him of running away, which is what she did to her friends. So the friend told them that it's unfair to not allow any further conversation about the situation. They told Vaughn that they felt like she was projecting a lot of the things onto him. And he said, that's exactly what it feels like. My biggest fear is losing them. I don't want it to sound selfish, but I've literally sacrificed it all for my household to be comfortable. Like nothing other than my grandparents are what's left of my past before this. I'm attached to this family and I prefer not to think of it. But even if I did come down to it and me and her separated, that would not stop me from wanting to be close to them. I want to tell her that. I just don't want to make matters worse. She is troubled on the inside and is scared. And I know some of that I triggered with words I should not have said. I just want to restore what I've lost in hope, and what she went through will never happen again. Maybe even help remove some of that I possible. I'm not sure what other way I can approach it. So he admits that she has basically made him cut off contact with his entire family, that she's only allowed him to speak to his grandparents. They gave him some advice about potentially going to counseling, so encouraging her to go to counseling. And he said, I think that would be a good idea. I can pitch it to her today when she isn't busy. I just want to tread lightly when it comes to that. It's a very sensitive subject. So to me, it sounds like Vaughn was the reverse. So whatever she was telling her friend, Vaughn's side was that she was the one that attacked him, that she's the one that's cursing him and screaming at him and yelling at him and getting violent with him. And he has been forced into a place where nothing he says can happen. He feels unsafe because of her. And the catalyst is that he wants to leave and she's afraid of him leaving. So they always say that the most dangerous time for someone to leave, or the most dangerous time for someone in a DV situation is when the other person wants to leave. We have no idea what happened because Dre is not talking to the police. The police have let us know that the investigation has been reopened now and is active, and people that have any information are encouraged.
Obviously are encouraged to call the Yuma Police Department or whatever, I forgot. Okay, so really quick, I want to look at does kratom cause brain swelling? Now I believe when you go through not overdation, what the fuck am I talking about? When you go through overdose, it can cause swelling on your brain. I don't know why, but I'm glad that I looked at this clip because it was talking about kratom and it causing seizures. This is just one of them. This is 3 minutes and 12 seconds. And this is from, I meant to like the other one, but I like it originally. It's on the Ask About Help channel. About health, not help. God damn it. Okay. So does kratom cause brain swelling? Let's go.
Take our lead. Let's help you make your mark. Our goal is your satisfaction. Let us show you the way. Glatter says side effects of kratom include seizures, dangerously high blood pressure, damage to liver and kidneys, swelling of the brain, breathing problems, and cardiac arrest. The chances of these problems are even higher when people use kratom with alcohol or with other drugs.
Oh, with other drugs, seizures, other drugs.
Says. Take our lead. Background.
They need to stop.
User reports suggest that long-term kratom, Mitragyna speciosa Corth. Rubiaceae, consumption can be associated with negative effects like constipation and withdrawal symptoms such as fatigue. Let's help you make your mark.
Okay, lady.
Nevertheless, there were no differences in the odds of having prolonged QTC intervals between kratom users and controls. The estimated average daily intake of mitragynine consumed by kratom users was 434.28 milligrams. Let's help you make your mark.
They need to go on with this.
Kratom
lady.
is believed to act on opioid receptors. At low doses, kratom acts as a stimulant, making users feel more energetic. At higher doses, it reduces pain and may bring on euphoria. At very high doses, it acts as a sedative, making users quiet and perhaps sleepy. Let's help you make your mark.
Okay, we get
Kratom
it.
use in the U.S. is rising, leading to kratom dependence and several medical complications. Kratom use has been linked to hepatotoxicity
Oh, I agree with that, Jagger.
and several neurological complications including posterior reversible encephalopathy syndrome and seizures, both of which can be life-threatening. 6. Take our lead. Side effects and safety concerns. Poison control centers in the United States received about 1,800 reports involving use of kratom from 2011 through 2017, including reports of death. About half of these exposures resulted in serious negative outcomes such as seizures and high blood pressure.
Oh, seizures. Remember that also Dre McCray has been checking his blood pressure a lot. She seems to think that she's his nurse. She has said that in live stream. I mean, not nurse, doctor. She has said that in live streams as well, and videos.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.
Okay, that lady was a little much. Like, they didn't need to insert her that much, but I found that some of that information was important. Hold on, let me stick this clip somewhere else. All right. I found that some of the information was important because that's the first run-in that I had seen with kratom and also side effect, or not side effects, seizures. My bad. Okay, so this one that we're gonna look at right here is 1 minute and 52 seconds. It is by Lee Health. Let me get the link for you guys. It is the difference between seizures and epilepsy. Since both of those words have been thrown around in this situation, I think it's important for us to know the difference between the two, right? That's what's up though. I don't know how to do it myself, but maybe I can learn from you. No. Oh, kratom, it's like they classify it as a supplement, but it is in the opioid family. However, it also is in the coffee family too, that I learned researching it. I am looking at other things on kratom, so if I find anything more interesting or whatever on it, we will hear a great deal from people that have used it, also what the news is saying about it, and also what obviously the health industry is saying, and things like that on it. Because I do have like a 28-minute video where they just, look at the effects of kratom and what it's used for, and I think it's overdose as well. There's a lot of stuff. So I have several clips for us to look at, not too long, but about maybe an hour worth of clips. So this one is, again, The Difference Between Seizures and Epilepsy by Lee Health.
It happens when there's an overproduction of electrical activity in the brain.
Seizures can occur for many different reasons. Sometimes
okay.
metabolic problems, or even medications could cause a seizure on an isolated basis, or sometimes toxic sort of chemicals could cause a seizure.
Me either, Amari. I've never heard of it.
But if a patient has a seizure, it doesn't mean they have epilepsy.
Epilepsy actually is defined as having multiple unprovoked seizures.
There are many different types of seizures, just like there are many different types of epilepsy. To determine the difference and the cause, patients may undergo a series of testing, including an MRI and an EEG screening.
The EEG is particularly helpful to look to see electrically where in the brain the seizure could be coming from.
A physical examination, a detailed medical history, and diagnostic testing can help physicians diagnose and treat the problem.
They are treated differently. Commonly, if we find there is a provoking occurrence, simply removing the provoking occurrence is enough to cause the seizures to go away. Or if we need to use a medication, if it truly is an epilepsy syndrome.
Approximately 3.5 million people in the U.S. have epilepsy, whereas studies show 1 in 10 people may experience a seizure in their lifetime.
Folks who do have epilepsy, true epilepsy syndromes, the risks of recurrence of seizure can be quite high. So most all of those patients do require medical care and medication to try to control their seizures.
Surgery may also be an option for patients. If a person experiences a seizure, it's important they seek medical care to determine the cause. For Lee Health, I'm Lindsay Morton.
See, and I think with something like epilepsy or even seizures, I again want to know when the seizures had started, but I think that is something serious, and your best bet might be you're going to need some type of, Western care or whatever, medical care or whatever. It's something that's serious. However, let's journey through. I think I got 4 clips from the news on it. Let's see what the news is saying. I do have more on health. I believe I have one more. But let's take a look through here. This is from the Detroit News. Let me drop the link.
In our health alert tonight, a controversial herbal remedy is back in the headlines.
It was this time last year we first told you about Kratom. A nationwide salmonella outbreak was linked to the supplement, with several cases right here in Michigan.
And now the CDC is linking the herbal drug to nearly 100 overdose deaths.
Our chief health editor, Dr. Partha Nandi, joining us now with new information on these deaths. Dr. Nandi.
So, Glenda, the CDC is reporting that Kratom was the cause of death of 91 fatal overdoses. Now, while that might not sound like a huge number to many folks, these deaths are happening over an 18-month time period, and the numbers are more than double the FDA's estimate of 44 Kratom-linked deaths since 2011.
All right, so some people may say, Doc, I don't use recreational drugs. I'm not an addict, so this shouldn't concern me. But what are your thoughts on that?
So here's the thing, Dave. While Kratom is being marketed to help people overcome opioid addiction, it's also touted to help ease pain and anxiety. And since Kratom is a natural product, lots of folks see it as harmless, but it contains mitragynine. And when it's taken in low doses, it can produce stimulant effects. In higher doses, it actually has opioid-like euphoric effects because it is affecting the same opioid brain receptors as, for example, morphine. And that means there's potential for addiction and abuse. Really, really hard stuff.
So if you're using it to ease pain and anxiety, like you were just talking about, Dr. Nandi, what can you do instead?
So, Glenda, I'd strongly recommend staying away from Kratom, as it's really not been approved for medical use. Instead, here are my prescriptions. First of all, if you have chronic pain, a pain specialist can really help. They will diagnose your pain and actually create a treatment plan. Secondly, if you have anxiety, please see your doctor who will look into underlying medical conditions that may exist. And treatment may include psychotherapy and actually approved medications that are safe. Also, when it comes to both pain and anxiety, your lifestyle is very key. A positive attitude along with reducing stress, getting enough sleep, really important, and exercising can all make a tremendous difference. And when it comes to Kratom, too much can actually cause agitation, a fast heart rate, high blood pressure, and seizures. And an overdose actually can cause a person to stop breathing, lead to coma, and kidney failure. On a different note, please join me tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for an all-new Dr. Nandy show. We'll be unlocking the mystery surrounding the thyroid, and my expert guest will be talking all about the crucial role it plays in the functioning of our entire body and how having a thyroid disorder can affect your entire life. I hope you join us.
There's several different forms of kratom. I don't know if you knew that. Here's another news one. So we got 2 news left. Again, I could have filled up, like, if I wanted to just like pre-make a video or whatever, I could have just took clips. There's about enough for at least an hour long of, you know, a video or whatever. But let's take a look at this or whatever. This is the kratom leaf right here. It's actually, I think, the same picture that I used in here. But anyway, let's take a look at this.
It can have the same effect as opioids on the brain, yet anyone can buy it at the corner gas station or smoke shop.
Kratom is a plant from Southeast Asia that typically comes in pill or powdered form. Researchers have been looking at the potential for kratom to treat opioid addiction. However, our KELOLAND News investigation talks with an Aberdeen mother whose son overdosed on kratom as overdose deaths from the substance continues to rise nationwide. Kratom affects the same opioid brain receptors as morphine and can be addictive. It can also have a stimulant effect in low doses. Proponents of the herbal supplements say it treats pain, anxiety, and depression. KELOLAND Investigates was easily able to find it in pill form or powder form at Common Sense in downtown Sioux Falls. You can also buy it online, but there's absolutely no regulation of the plant.
It's legal. You can get it at your corner gas stations and at the smoke shops, but it should be a Schedule 1. It can be abused so easily.
While the feds have called for it to be classified as a Schedule 1 drug, that has not happened, although it is illegal in 6 states. Millions of proponents say kratom is a good alternative to opioids to help relieve pain. However, kratom has caused nearly 100 overdose deaths in 27 states. According to the CDC, another 61 fatal drug overdoses were found to have kratom in their bloodstreams, although other drugs may have been responsible for the deaths.
At the level that Miles was using it, he was abusing it.
Kathy Boucher knows that all too well. Her son, Miles Bronner of Aberdeen, suffered lasting brain damage after overdosing on kratom.
Right? It's like curry powder, I swear, basil.
Combined with prescription medication in December of 2018.
The combination of the two things had put him
combined with prescription medication
in cardiac arrest. He had multiple strokes. He was in a coma. We didn't know if he was going to live or not.
This home video shows Miles waking up from his coma.
Again, I'm not saying that it's just kratom itself, but they just said, you know, he was mixing kratom and using it also with prescription, you know, meds. Ended him in a coma. He had cardiac arrest.
Are you saying you love your mom? I love you too.
I spoke with Miles in early 2019 about his kratom overdose on the phone. He had planned to do an interview with me about what he saw as the danger of this legal substance. However, Miles was never able to do that interview. He was in trouble with the law again for his ongoing drug use, and he ended up going to Rapid City on work release. That's where his mother says the system failed to help treat his addiction and keep him alive. You won't want to miss tonight's investigation, Slipping Through the Cracks, as we look into what happened during the height of the pandemic restrictions in South Dakota and what went wrong in Miles's case.
To me, it looked like he clearly continued to use. Hold on, I gotta. All right, he clearly continued to use. I forgot to put that link for that just in case anybody wants to go back and reference it for any reason. But let me see. Clear these two. All right. There's another one in Sioux Falls. I think I just fell in the Sioux Falls category for some reason, not intentional, but it's the same.
According to the
same link as the other one, basically.
CDC, kratom was found as a cause of death in 91 drug overdoses across 11 states between July of 2016 and December of 2017.
That's the most recent data available. Kratom is often spiked or used with opioids.
That's a fact, Imari. Oh my God, I can't talk. I swear my brain is shutting down. I've literally been up forever, yo.
However, according to the CDC, kratom was the only substance found in 7 of those 91 deaths.
The South Dakota Department of Health tells KELOLAND investigates that kratom was the cause of 3 deaths so far in 2020, up from just 1 in 2019. Tonight, as our investigation into the kratom controversy continues, we hear from the family of a young man who died in July after using kratom.
You always hang around me.
27-year-old Jake Helmbrecht was a big guy who loved to make others laugh. He also struggled with alcoholism. Jake had completed treatment and was in sober living when he turned to a new legal substance to try to ease his anxiety, kratom.
Hey, it's a natural, like vitamin C or whatever else. I'll be able to take this. This will, and I'm fine. No, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a supplement.
On July 26th, Jake was found dead in the sober living home where he was staying. His family waited for the coroner's report to find out what killed him.
We were just on the edge of our seats waiting to see what on earth happened because everyone in the sober living house said he was doing great.
According to his pathology report, Jake died from an...
Probably because people are dying in deaths related to it. I wouldn't blame it solely on that. Because like I said, we're going to look into what it's like to overdose on kratom. But necessarily people didn't go to the hospital. Like it wasn't like overdosing on heroin or something like that, but it is highly uncomfortable. Oh, bodybuilders use it also. Okay.
Accidental kratom overdose or mitragynine toxicity.
I just want to get his story up so nobody else has to go
I hear you, Anastasia.
Going through with such a senseless death, because I know he would have never took this if he knew that it would kill him.
Well, kratom has a lot of public support, and the lobbying group, the American Kratom Association, claims that medical examiners who say kratom is the cause of any death are getting it wrong. We will have that part of the story, plus what Jake's family wants to see happen now, tonight, in the final part of our investigation into the kratom controversy at 10.
I definitely think using it with prescription drugs is not a good idea. Let me clear this. Oh, do we have one more? Okay, this one is from Florida. I forgot about this one. This one's from Florida. Here's the link for this one as well.
A Florida mom says a well-known herb killed her son.
Yeah, the medical examiner says it is the first ever case of a death caused strictly by kratom. We sat down with the man's mother, who's on a mission to warn other parents.
What's the hardest thing that you miss about him?
Everything. On his birthday, I said he was the love of my life. I would have done anything for him.
July 7th, the day Laura Lamont will now never forget. The day police called her phone.
He said, "Your son is deceased." I lost it. I just started yelling, and I sort of don't remember much after that.
Lamont's only son, 27-year-old Christopher Waldron, was dead. Lamont says he struggled with addiction for a decade. She assumed he finally overdosed on narcotics. She found these 2 packs in her son's motel. She believes it's a highly concentrated pill. 5 blister packs were empty, yet she had no clue what they were. A month later, she got the autopsy report.
I was shocked. And then when I got it, I thought, what is this? I had found some things in his room, and I saw the packages of what he had taken, but I didn't really know much about it.
I'm just going through his study, guys.
There are some millennials who know a lot about it. We spoke with these 3 at a cafe that serves kratom tea. Each say they use it for different reasons, maybe to focus, anxiety, depression, or pain relief.
I drink maybe like 1 to 2 a day.
So I'm just kind of like mellowed out.
It's been healthy and beneficial for me.
But Lamont says that's the problem. There's really no way to know how many grams to take or mix when you first start off. When we went into the cafe undercover to buy the tea, the employee went to the back and came out with a mixed batch. She told us to drink it slowly over the course of an hour or we'd get sick.
If it were properly labeled, that he would have had a chance. There was no label on it at all. It didn't have a dosage amount. It didn't have a warning label. It didn't say that don't mix it with this or that, or if you have, you know, this condition or whatever. A bottle of Tylenol has that on there.
A toxicologist for Hillsborough County told us there's not enough research to go back and figure out how many grams Waldron ingested to get his blood level to a lethal amount. The report says Waldron had 1.8 milligram per liter of blood, and the toxicologist tells us that is a lot. Pills we saw in stores don't give dosages. Powders have to be carefully measured, and you have to do your own research on various websites to get it right, or Lamont says you die.
He didn't want to die. And so I think he wouldn't have taken it had he known that he could die from it.
From 2014 to 2016, the Drug Enforcement Administration identified 15 deaths connected to kratom. The American Kratom Association defends the botanical, saying a person could not ingest enough kratom in any reasonable time frame that could lead to a death.
So yeah, it's devastating.
Well, Lamont says before anyone can make that statement, the drug needs to be researched even more. The FDA is now running tests, and the DEA says if their findings show the herbal supplement has no medicinal value, they will ban it. Lamont isn't calling for a ban. She just wants the people who make it and sell it to be held accountable.
I'm angry at the gas station. I'm angry at the company that distributes it. I'm angry at them because they know. They know. There's stuff out there. So I don't want anybody else to die from it.
And we reached out to the manufacturers of those pills that Christopher Waldron's mom says he took. We have not yet heard back from them.
So that is crazy as hell. Again, I could have, there's a whole bunch. I just watched like 3, 4, 5 or whatever and was like, oh, okay. So you coming with the show or whatever. I also want to head it up with what this man said, because it is important to remember that in this case, he was on Ativan and also Xanax. This man right here is going to talk about his brother overdosing off of kratom. He is no longer here anymore, but I think what he said in this is important. What he pointed out, because just like Marvon McCray's situation, he was on prescription meds also while doing the kratom. His brother went through that same thing. Let's take a look at this. 4 minutes and 7 seconds.
Somebody just left me a message, and they was like, they brother just OD'd. And I was like, I feel sorry for him. And I asked him, how did he OD? What did he, die off of? And they told me that he overdosed off kratom. It's not funny that he overdosed, but they told me that he overdosed off kratom. So I had to ask him, was he using any drugs or anything? And they told me that he wasn't using any drugs at the time. He was just trying to get clean by using kratom. So I just thought to myself, and I was like, I had to ask her, what drug did he use before he started using kratom? And she told me he was using fentanyl, morphine, tramadol, Narcan, Vicodin, muscle relaxers, you name it. And the thought came across my mind, and I had to tell her, because if I didn't tell her, I would have been wrong. I told her that he probably overdosed because he was still getting down using drugs.
All right, Mike.
And most people don't want to admit that. That's just like a lot of these people that say kratom is bad, that people is like overdosing off kratom. They're not overdosing off kratom. They overdosing off the stuff that they use, the other stuff that they use along with kratom, because kratom don't work for that good for a lot of people. A lot of people start using Kratom because they want to get into the same feeling without using the drugs. And then when Kratom just takes the pain away and don't perform previously like the drug do, what they do is they go back and get down with different drugs while still taking Kratom. And it's crazy because it's like a total waste of money. If you thought that Kratom was gonna like get you high, why did you even stop using drugs in the first place? And I had to give her the raw truth that her brother didn't OD from Kratom. Her brother OD'd because he went back out there in them streets and started using dope again. Because people these days are hard-headed. I don't know how much it's going to take for anybody to understand that as long as you messing around these streets playing games, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. And nobody is immune from getting that fentanyl bag. And that fentanyl bag hit them. That's lights out. I mean, lights out. But to say that your brother OD'd off of Kratom or cousin or whoever he is, that's stupid as hell. I mean, it's totally dumb.
He said that's stupid as hell.
Some of these people that say these idiotic things need to be put in place.
Oh, that's what's up. Nah, I feel you. Mike B said up here, he said the drawbacks of Kratom outweighs the benefits. It makes you feel better with no pain and increase the energy. However, if you don't enjoy extreme constipation, then you shouldn't. That I wouldn't suggest this supplement. And he also said, for real, I worked at a Kratom. We worked for a Kratom company, and he's a brother. Much love. Nah, I feel you though. We did hear about the constipation. I really don't think it's just the Kratom alone, even still. But I was asked in a premiere I did earlier about could Kratom cause seizures? And I did find that if you like overuse it, and again, we're talking about taking way more than you're supposed to, it could, affect you as far as a seizure.
Know the truth as far as Kratom withdrawals,
but especially if you're taking it with other meds.
Kratom does. People stop making these dumb, stupid excuses for people that still use it. If you want to get clean, put it down. If you want to still use dope. Leave Kratom alone. It's not for you. You got pain and you want to nod off pills. Don't go get Kratom to take the place of the pills. Do what you have to do with yourself to get clean. And the rest of us will do what we know is right. And we'll stay clean.
So whereas I don't agree with everything that he stated in there, you know what I'm saying? I do agree that, deaths normally with this Kratom. Now, I do think that you got to be wary about what company you're getting it from. So, Mike's, the company that Mike worked for is probably not, it's probably genuine. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing and stuff. But Andre McCray or Dre McCray claimed that she got hers from Mexico and she smuggled it. So what if it's, different Kratom, if you catch my drift? And again, also the fact that he was also taking prescription meds with it. Excuse me. This guy for about 2 minutes and 3 seconds is going to explain his overdose, and then we're going to move on to other people talking about their overdose or why they quit taking Kratom. And I just wanted to say, I'm not attacking Kratom at all. I'm not saying that people shouldn't use it. I'm saying regardless, you should know what you're taking and be mindful of it. It is suspicious to me, though, how they don't have certain things on the label. Like if it's not a good idea to take with prescription drugs, or like if you take it with Kool-Aid and then you just, you know, pass out for 5 minutes. People need to know that, you feel me? But that is obviously not to every Kratom company, because I'm sure that, you know, they're not the same. However, this man for 2 minutes and 3 seconds, like I said, is going to talk about his interaction with Kratom, and then we'll move on to like more detailed videos on it.
Hi, this is about my Kratom overdose. When I first started taking Kratom, I would buy the powdered Kratom, and it wouldn't have any directions on the package on how much to take. So it was a real challenge trying to figure out how much you take. And I got some powdered kind one time, and I took probably about maybe 2 ounces, and it kicked in, and I started getting shaky. I got so shaky I couldn't do anything, and I felt like I was having health problems, so I decided to call an ambulance. And I was so shaky I couldn't even dial 911.
Facts, Emmanuel. The deal breaker would have been, first off, I can't poop. Oh, hell nah, bro.
Finally, I got my neighbor, and she called the ambulance. The ambulance got here, and my blood pressure was really high, dangerously high. It was 230 over 115, which was so high I could have had a heart attack or a stroke. They rushed me to the hospital. I told them I took Kratom. They started an IV on me and started flushing my system with water, and they gave me some medications to bring down my blood pressure. And within about 6 or 7 hours after taking it, I started feeling better. But I decided to make this video, you know, to let people know you got to be very careful how much you take. It's not like coffee. If you have a little bit too much coffee, you'll be okay. But Kratom, it'll raise your blood pressure. It'll kill you. So be very careful. It's better to take not enough than too much. So be careful when you're using Kratom.
And I think that's like the biggest part about it. Like, some people claim they didn't know how to take it, or what was, you know, the right dosage or whatever. And, or maybe they like the effects and then they just take more and more. I'm definitely not talking about taking like the prescribed dose on, you know, the bottle or whatever it comes in, right? I'm talking about taking over. However, which could be happening in the situation with Von and Dre, because we seen her stir up some shit in a bowl or whatever, you know, yesterday. And I'm pretty sure, you know, those 2 large heaping spoonfuls that we saw her take in videos or whatever is not the only 2 that she's taking. First, she's also taking like tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons. So this video right here is by this man. His name is Quarter Life. Here's the link to his video. He's gonna talk about too much Kratom equals bad time. Let's take a look.
Okay, so I made a video a while back talking about Kratom, that I was probably not going to take it again, or, you know, really at least purchase it on my own, but I did. So I'm just going to quickly talk about this one. I say quickly, but I'll probably ramble on for like 15 fucking minutes. But I think this was what I had last time as well. And yeah, definitely a lot better things than Kratom, but I don't really try any of this stuff too often, or, you know, any of these other, you know, new kind of
But some do have suggested dosages on it. But yeah, I wouldn't take anything either. Like, you ain't gonna tell me how much to take? Oh, man. Never mind.
You know, pretty hyped up things, but it seems like this one's going to be sticking around, especially before it, you know, hopefully does not get illegalized. But I know there's a lot of things, like I said in my last video, that this is definitely not something that I feel like would be good to do on a consistent basis. Now, I've seen a lot of videos of people talking about either, you know, withdrawals to 1 degree, and then other people talking about how it's, you know, it's very beneficial for them. And I know it's helped some people with, you know, heavier drug withdrawals and everything. And it seems like it does serve its purpose, but something like this definitely could be, Kratom could be abused. And I don't think there's enough research to see in the long run what it really could do. So when I do take this stuff, it's very minimal, but I just wanted to share something that makes me think this stuff isn't as safe as a lot of people may think. Is I was a dumbass, and the first time I took this is an 8 gram, I believe it's just an 8 gram pouch in everything. And so when I had the powder before, I took between, it was like 3 to 5 grams. And that's what I've had when I've taken it, you know, here and there in the past as well. So my dumbass decided there were 16 capsules in here. My dumbass decided, hey, I'm going to take 8 of these. And that's going to be like 4 grams. So that should be good. So let me explain my little story with that. So that started off, it was in the afternoon, later in the afternoon. I was doing some work from home. So I took that, and I took 8 of them, like I just said. So I'm sitting there doing some work. And then after a while, maybe, you know, 20, 30 minutes, I start to, you know, feel a little bit more perked up and everything, and definitely feeling those good, you know, positive euphoric effects and everything from the Kratom. And then it got a little bit more and more intense. So I started to feel a little bit, you know, almost a little bit high in a sense. So definitely, you know, the most intense, you know, Kratom experience that I started to feel. So I was like, all right, well, this is interesting. I started eventually to feel a little bit uneasy with it too, because I'm like, holy shit, why is this getting so strong? Now, what I was experiencing with that was, after the initial, you know, kind of that nice euphoric effect and everything, and, you know,
I love edibles.
Feeling pretty calm. It started to get more intense in the realms of almost a little bit of like uneasiness. I was having a lot harder time to focus, and it was just this weird type of high that was really hard to describe. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to take a break from work right now because I really can't focus on shit. So
worst thing you're going to do off of edible, if you eat too much, you're just going to go to sleep. The other day I had a Rice Krispie, and I woke up and I didn't even know that I was asleep. You know what I mean?
So I was sitting in this chair over here, and I was sitting down, and I was going to like, hey, I'm going to meditate for like 20 minutes. So, you know, shut my eyes, had some music on or some binaural beats, whatever it was. And then it's, I was feeling pretty good, and it just got more and more intense. Like I thought, wait, am I about to freak out right now? Like I can't even really tell. But I just felt very I don't know, just physically, it was just strange, almost like depersonalized in a sense. And it's just think of just a very strong, almost, you know, when you have a good amount of something like that Mang Dai, Kratom, the euphoric feeling, but then also like the body high almost from marijuana, and then that, you know, stimulating effect from like an Adderall, something like that, or just, you know, a lot of caffeine. And then it's just like that whole thing kind of like combined into this weird type of physical type sensation, but it was also very heady. I know it's fucking amazing trying to explain this. So after that, I was like, fuck, I'm just going to go for a walk. And I walked around the neighborhood, definitely feeling very, very floaty, but, you know, feeling good. I felt like the physical sensation was calming down a bit, where I wasn't like freaking out. But then that's the reason I decided to go on a walk, because I'm like, hey, this will, you know, chill me out and get some fresh air and just kind of experience it. Because then I was at the point where I felt like, okay, now I'm just enjoying this. I'm definitely not at a point where I feel like I can sit down and focus on some work like I thought it was going to allow me to do. But, you know, I was walking around for maybe about an hour, and, you know, definitely definitely not feeling sober for sure. So did that for about an hour, you know, feeling pretty good. I'm feeling a bit more grounded, and, you know, came back and say pretty good energy, just feeling, you know, very like good positive mood and everything. And then still obviously a little bit, you know, not totally sober, if that makes sense. So I did some cleaning around my apartment, and yeah, then I started to experience this weird type of going in.
Wow, it feels like morphine is in there. Damn.
In and out of feeling very awake.
I remember how morphine feels from when I had my kids. You know what I'm saying? Damn, that's I ain't like that shit at all.
And then also,
I mean, it did help with the pain, but man, and then my nose was itching and shit. Like, what the fuck is this?
then also just like
oh, okay, that brand. Okay, I got you.
Falling asleep, but not like I could actually fall asleep, but just feeling very fatigued and very just like almost like sedated in a sense. So I was sitting down and, you know, starting up to do some work and everything, because like I said, after I did, you know, some cleaning and stuff, I thought, okay, I'm in a good place now. I feel like it's kind of, you know, peaked, if you want to call it that. It's kind of wearing off. So I'm just going to sit down, do some work. And then it's those sensations started again, where it's like I'm feeling, you know, pretty wired. But then also after a few minutes feeling very almost like sedated, like I could barely keep my eyes open while I'm like working on this stuff. So like after maybe, I don't know, an hour, if it was maybe even less than that, I'm like, all right, this is just weird. I know I'm not being very productive right now with this work. So I'm just going to.
You will not be running nowhere. You gonna be chilling. You gonna want to eat some rip. Just don't eat more edibles. You know what I mean? If you get high as hell, just, you know, eat some real food. Get you some chips, candy bar or something. You ain't running nowhere though. You gonna be chill.
Kind of lay down and, you know, see if this kind of wears off, or maybe I just need to, you know, take a quick nap or something. But it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night at this point. So I laid down, put on some music, and classical music, because I'm, you know, fucking an intellectual. So I put that on, and that
yes, so one of the legs or something
turned into. I think I listened to that for about an hour, but sitting down, I was laying down on the floor and listening to this, and it turned into an hour. But it literally, it was so strange, because it was one of those sedated feelings where I felt like I felt tired, but I was still awake, but I sure as hell, I wasn't going to sleep. I didn't have any point that I remember of, you know, being unconscious or falling asleep at all. It was this very just odd, heady type, depersonalized feeling that I was just, you know, hearing the music and everything, but just, it was this like uncomfortable, heady, depersonalized type feeling. And I didn't really move much, just laying there for probably about an hour. And then I, you know, got up after that, and then it felt like it seemed to kind of wear off more after that too. But then after maybe another hour or so, I was feeling kind of like, okay, this is definitely chilling out. And I felt very very relaxed and calm. And I did a little bit more work, you know, ate some food, went to sleep. But that whole thing, that probably took about maybe 6 hours or something of that whole experience. And, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours. So then the next day I'm like, dude, fuck that. I am not taking that much again. That was stupid. That was really fucking stupid. So yeah. And then a couple weekends later, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to take 2 of these and, you know, see how that is. Like literally a quarter of what I had before, and, you know, see how that is.
Yeah, because last time he had took 8. I don't know why he thought taking 8 would have been a good idea. When yesterday we seen 1 or 2 capsules, like you're supposed to take, like you ain't supposed to take no 8.
And just to, you know, get rid of that stuff and whatever. So 2 of them, absolutely great. You know, throughout the whole day, still just, you know, getting work done, feeling pretty productive. positive mood, but also very chilled out, laid back. So it was basically the very initial parts of that first time when I took 8 of them, but it was just it stayed at that point and just lasted all throughout the day. So, and then even just yesterday, same thing, took 2, and yeah, pretty much the same deal. But okay, I gave that little story for about 8 minutes, and
all right, and we're done with him because he gonna put me to sleep in a second. But shout out to him though. You know what I'm saying? All right, and then here's this other dude right quick. And again, I ain't purposely pick out just white people or nothing like that. I just didn't find when I looked a lot of, melanated people talking about this. But here's this guy, whatever. His name is Balancing Life. Let's take a look at him. And then after that, we're going to look at 2 videos from a channel that I like called Psyched Substance. And then we're also going to look at Kratom use and dependency. And because seizures come up in there as well, I did watch a video on that. It's only about 28 minutes. So this one right here is 6 minutes and 36 seconds. Let's take a look.
What's going on, you guys? We're out here in the cold of nature, baby. That's right. I'm here to talk about Kratom. About 3 years ago, I made a great video on Kratom. Feel free to check it out. It's got well over 100,000 views. And it was when I first started using the plant for its medicinal value. However, I've learned a lot since then, and I want to share that with you. I'm not here to bash Kratom. That's not what this is about. It's clearly helped many people, especially people that are trying to get off of harder drugs. And it's also helped a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of pain. And I think occasionally it's a really good plant to use overall. You see, it took me a while, though, to realize that this plant was actually becoming a bit of a problem for me. Originally, I was using it for pain relief, and it really, really helped me. Because I've got scar tissue in my spine from old injuries, I definitely dealt with a lot of falls in my day from BMX racing and snowboarding and falling out of trees. But the plant really helped me cope with dealing with that pain. It gave me a lot of energy. It made me feel good. I was always able to get a lot done and have fun doing even the most boring jobs. However, I realized after a few years that I really got tired of some of the side effects, and they seemed to wear more and more on me as time went on. What I mean by that is it constantly makes me have to pee, and I can't stand having to pee all the time. I don't know if everyone gets that side effect, but it makes me pee a lot. Another thing that I want to share with you is that eventually it started to wear on me to the point where it wasn't really being that helpful anymore. Sometimes I would take it, once a week or, every other day, but then it became a little bit of a problem. And I think it's easy for a really powerful, amazing plant like this to become an issue for people, especially if they are dealing with pain. So for me, what I would have to say about this is, I'll keep it around for like an emergency, or if I'm dealing with some type of very difficult situation where I'm in a lot of pain, and I have to deal with that, I want to keep it around for that. However, I'm definitely not using it anymore. I've completely stopped using it. One of the things that I'd like to talk about in this is the withdrawals that I actually went through. And
them weed naps and you don't even know it are awesome.
Withdrawals are no joke.
What's good, man?
If you are using Kratom, it is something you are using, and it does become a problem for you. You can potentially expect some withdrawals. My withdrawals lasted for about 4 to 5 days or so.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you use it the way that you're supposed to, or, you know what I mean? Like, don't overdo it, then, it could be a good thing. I'm not going to take it because in some other video that I watched, I heard the man say that it's kind of like being on Adderall, and I'm good, bro, because I have ADHD, and when I was younger, they put me on Adderall, and then also they put me on Dexedrine before, and then Ritalin at another time, and all three of them, bro, hell to the no. I cannot.
They were really, really awful. I mean, you feel lifeless. You feel
Yeah, I'm glad you had no seizures as well. But I'm not knocking it though. I just know that like certain feelings my body don't agree with. You know what I mean? And with other people, like my daughter's dad, if he like smokes weed, he like low key trips out. Like he'll panic and shit like that. Like it's crazy. But I can't, you know, I don't have an issue with it, but you know what I'm saying? So to each their own, but I just cannot.
completely depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because your physiology is having to change and adapt to stopping using something you're using every day, like drinking coffee. If you stop drinking coffee and you drink it every day, you're going to...
Basically, Adderall is like the pharmaceutical version of methamphetamine, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's the closest thing, like, I guess, to it. Later on, you know, I have found that out or whatever, but yeah, I could not. Like, I cannot. No.
going to be wiped. But with Kratom, it's very serious. So I just want you to be aware of that. On the other side of this, the withdrawals are really terrible. Kratom is a great plant, but if you start using this plant every day, and if I remember correctly in my previous video, I did tell people not to use this every day because I believe that I was aware that this could become a problem. But it's also helped a lot of people that I've met, and I think it's really good. So you need to take it with caution. If you're going to consume a plant like Kratom that is that powerful, that can have that kind of effect on your mind and your body, you need to be aware that these types of things can happen. I see Kratom as a teacher. It's a teacher plant. It has something to teach you about your body, about you, about your mind, who you are, and what you're doing. For me, it definitely taught me a lot about my pain levels. It taught me a lot about my energy levels, my personality, things like that. And I think when you end up with these powerful plants like cannabis, like Kratom, for example, they definitely will teach you something about yourself. So that's very important to take in.
So we're just talking about a little bit of this thing. I'm going to end that one there because I think we heard enough from him, Dims. Okay. This one right here is from Psyched Substance. Let me get the link for y'all. This one is being addicted to Kratom. That just did that on its own. That's nice. Thank you, StreamYards. Appreciate
like
you.
I said, just
all right, let's take a look at this. He did another video about Kratom as well that we'll look at. I've been watching him. I don't know how I found his channel. I think like it was another case that was going on, and they was talking about like drugs being in somebody's system or whatever. And I think that's how I ran across his channel, but I've been subbed to him for a while on another channel. But we're going to look at him right now. So this one is what being addicted to Kratom feels like. You know, again, I ain't trying to persuade anybody to use Kratom. I'm not using it. I'm not interested. But I just at least want to have a full understanding of what Kratom is, since it's one of the key factors in the Dre and Von situation. That's, you know, kind of here and now type of situation. But also, you know, I just heard about it when this case had came about, and so Jeanette had told us a little bit yesterday in yesterday's live stream. But you know, I think that, you know, we should look more into it regardless of the Dre and Von situation, just so we can know like what is going on or whatever. Because again, I guess this was right up. I'm pretty sure if I go to like any smoke shop, you know, which I go normally to get my blunts and things, child, I'm pretty sure they have some of this in there, but I just walk past it the whole time, just not even, you know. But let's learn about what it's like being addicted to Kratom. And this is in his experience. Let's take a look.
Let's get right into this. So you wake up and the very first thing that you think about is, holy shit, it's 2 a.m. in the morning. Why the am I awake? I guess it's time to go drink some Kratom. I mean, because why would I go back to sleep when I can start my day at 2 a.m. and start feeling good immediately? Now, good is relative to how you feel when you're addicted. What you now need to feel good, meaning your daily shot of Kratom, is actually bringing you back to a state that used to be called normal. You still, in your mind, think that it's making you feel good because it's all relative. You're feeling good relative to how low you feel without it. Okay, now that I've got this buzz,
okay,
do I really want to start working or do I want to ride out the buzz? I mean, I guess we could go play some video games. The littlest things would be overly interesting. For example, you might find yourself really examining a piece of technology that in normal everyday consciousness, you're like, yeah, this is my Apple Watch. But when you're in the Kratom state, it's like your level of intrigue, at least for me, in seemingly just everyday items was heightened. It's a very slight increase, but it's definitely a positive push. And it reminded me really of being in a childlike state, because when I was a kid, I was fascinated and super interested in everything. I would sometimes find myself, as I would mentally say, wasting the high, just being enamored with like a watch or something. This would also line up with nostalgic things. Like I would often find myself playing old, like Final Fantasy VII. I remember purposely sniffing dust under the couch to try to make myself sneeze to convince my mom that I was sick so I could stay home and play Final Fantasy VII. It was like my first addiction. And it made things like that game super fun again. It would make things that without Kratom, I'd scoff at, be like, why the hell do I want to play Final Fantasy VII? Probably beat it from beginning to end like dozens of times. Like, I don't want to do that again. But on Kratom, I'm like, yeah, this is exciting. But then the effects were short-lived, because now we're, I don't know, maybe 2 hours later, and all of a sudden it would start to die. So of course I'd be like, oh, it's time for a little bump. In fact, I got a drug book right here. This is 5 months. I recorded all of my drug use for years in these books. So we could actually go through and you can see when the dose started to go up. Here we got March 18th, 2021. This is last year. Started 4 a.m. There we go. 3.5 grams green Thai at 8 a.m. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow. So I would last 4 hours, and then I'd take another 3 grams of green Meng Da. And then another 4 hours, I would take another 1.5 grams of Thai. And that would be it. So I was averaging 3 doses on a cascading level, where it would start off with the highest and then it would slowly trickle down to smaller and smaller booster doses. So I wasn't taking crazy amounts. And I think this is a big shock to a lot of people who think that I was just full on abusing this shit because of that one video I made. The video was highlighting a point in my life where I was, but those heavily abusive periods were very short lived. And it was usually during periods of intense sadness. On the average day-to-day, I wasn't doing anything too crazy. So these effects that I'm talking about, what Kratom felt like for me, are on these, you know, pretty average, modest doses. I mean, we got guys out here taking 30 plus grams of Kratom in a sitting. I'm pretty sure somewhere on the internet says 30 grams is enough to OD on Kratom. And we got people.
Wow, 30 grams of Kratom.
Taking that dose. I think of that as someone who's absolutely out of their mind insane. Relative to like realistic expectations, a high dose might be 8 grams. Let's move back to what it felt like. So yeah, I'd be on these small doses and then it would wear off and then I'd take the booster. The whole point of these boosters was I was trying to ride out that first dose. So from 4 to 11, I was actually trying to stretch out the 3.5 grams because the boosters weren't making it stronger. They were actually just allowing the effects to linger a little bit longer. So I would try to dose in the morning when I would be doing work. I would actually feel at the time that it was helping me get work done, even though it really wasn't. And it was instead distracting me and causing me to play video games. I wasn't focused in the least bit, but I was tricked into thinking I was, because without it, I was even worse because I was addicted now. And I had forgotten what it was like to just function normally at this point because it was years of doing this. Now, after it's wearing off, right? And the workday's over, say at like 4 or 5, I'm done working, spending time with family, it's dinner and stuff. This is when I'm finally now coming down off it. And as I would come down off it, what that would feel like was just super irritability. I remember actively feeling like I was holding back my irritability. And you got to keep in mind that this is exacerbated heavily by having low testosterone levels.
Also, I want to point out that, you know, Von McCray, right? Von was feeling all kind of weird and all this. Is that because they had already been taking Kratom? And obviously, you know, he was taking other things. Again, I'm not saying that Kratom is the reason why he lost his life. Like, I mean, not lost his life. Wow. I hope that don't happen. I mean, but they saying there's no activity in his brain, but I did not mean to say that. Like, is in a coma or whatever. But also, we can't forget about the fact that we can't blame it all on Kratom, because he allegedly hung himself, right? So I'm just saying, but the fact that he was feeling like hostile, and also I've seen Drea or Dre act like the hostility as well. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about the video where we seen earlier where she was basically trying to manipulate him into not going to see the doctor or leaving or whatever. I'm talking about in other instances, I've seen her act like that.
It threw my hormones out of whack. My adrenals were probably going haywire. So all of these bodily functions were being totally thrown off by the lack of sleep, by the addiction itself. I must have been an absolute nightmare to be around. And keep in mind that I would be doing my best to be pleasant, to put a cheery face on. But meanwhile, as the effects are wearing down, what this feels like is grumpy, low. All of a sudden, your energy just gets sucked out of you, and all you can think about is your next dose. All I would be doing after that final one was looking forward to the next morning. And it's like you are actually just living for the next fix. It is the most miserable form of existence that I've ever endured, because things that should
the throne.
I love my family. This is not easy stuff to say. Like being there for your family, activities with them, all this stuff that biologically should sprout enormous amounts of joy comes second to your fucking addiction. And that's just the way it is for so many people. And people will deny this. They'll deny. They don't want to admit.
That's a fact, Jeanette.
Just how much it has its hooks in them.
And he's talking about what it does to testosterone, and we already know that 2 tablespoons is definitely not the recommended dose. You know what I'm saying? So just imagine what type of toll that alone was doing on her. And if she would have been smart enough, she could have researched what should be the actual dose and stuck to that. And also, you know, she could have did a lot of other things, but I'm just saying, like, bruh, she should have found out what effects it would do on her man. Me and my man take supplements, but not Kratom. You know what I'm saying? Like B6, B12, you know, vitamin D3. You feel me? The fuck, like some shit like that. You know, I do like royal jelly, and things. But I always, before I let my man, you know, or even me, like, you know, take it, is I always research it all the way around, the good, the bad, the ugly, like what do it, not do, what could happen. You know, is it going to interact with anything else I'm taking or whatever? And I think she should have done that. But in reality, I think she used the Kratom, like we had stated yesterday. I think she used the Kratom to cover up the fact that, you know, she was probably giving him, you know, over amounts of whatever meds he was on, like Xanax and Ativan and shit like that, or maybe some other type of poison. She could have been, shit, as bitter as it sounds like Kratom is, she could have been putting, you know, pine sol in his shit. Not battery fluid, antifreeze, you know what I'm saying? Anything. It is banned a lot of places. I did notice that. I got excited at first because, like, when I first looked it up, I looked up Kratom seizure seizures, and then it pulled up like where they did a seizure of a large like shipment of kratom or whatever, but I thought they were talking about seizures, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, rat poisoning too, facts, because rat poisoning is bitter, so you would need something bitter to cover up the bitterness. That's the reason why it tastes like that. You know, kratom tastes like that, you know, because they had to make it bitter. We went over that yesterday too. So this shit is just crazy.
Really, people who say that kratom's not this horrible drug, well, I don't think any drug is horrible, but it's how people use them. When you're taking it every day, your body becomes physically dependent on it to the point where you need it, like I said, just to be at a state of what used to be normal. And I can fully attest to this because now we're months clean from it. Cold turkey, that, as well as alcohol and a whole bunch of other drugs. And my system has returned to a state of normal. And I'm saying this to help anyone out there watching. And it's like, I can confidently say that now how I feel just naturally is close to as good as I would feel off that first kratom dose. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Off that first kratom dose, even when I was already depleted and I needed it to reach the normal, it was still giving me a different experience than I normally feel now. Was it a better experience than I feel now? I would highly debate this, but there were aspects of it that you could say were still desirable compared to how I naturally feel. And this is honesty that a lot of people aren't willing to share because they don't want to make a drug seem like it was actually good when, like, obviously there was effects that were desirable. Otherwise, why the fuck would you do it? And one of those things was that heightened sense of intrigue and just enjoyment in the little things, that curiosity, which I naturally have. And I have now versus like when I was off it before, I had none of it. It was like depleted big time. Now being clean, I have a natural curiosity for things, and I've returned to some of my childlike wonder, but it's nowhere near the level of like excitement and just like happiness that you would feel during those brief 30 minutes to an hour. And when I say 30 minutes to an hour, I mean, it would feel like max 30 minutes to an hour. That's when the effects were peaked. And after that, you would be aware that it was declining. It was like, as soon as after that hour and it would decline, you feel the itch in the back of your head. And it would be like, well, these effects are lessening. Maybe you should take more. And you're constantly trying to cut deals with yourself. Never cut deals with yourself. This is road to severe dependence. Okay. Mega addiction. As soon as you start cutting deals, it's all over. It's all downhill after that. But so I'd be like in these mental arguments and I'd be like, no, you gotta wait till 8. Because every time, say I would mess up. I mean, we could probably find a time right now if we really want to go through it, and say I dose earlier than like 4 hours, I dose again at 8. Then I'd end up dosing twice. And so many people who do opioids, this is the pattern, and you're trying to convince yourself to keep the high going. So what I would do is I would supplement sometimes with coffee. I'd either take coffee right at the same time as the kratom, which near the end of it, I always mixed it with coffee because that was the only way to really feel the effects anymore at these low doses. But in the beginning, before, when I didn't need the coffee, I would say take the kratom, and then as it would wear off, I take the coffee or some other compound to help boost it so I could stretch it longer till the next dose. But it was all about that next kratom dose. My whole morning was designed around riding out this kratom effect as long as I possibly could, because I had convinced myself that it was physically and mentally safe. Physically safe for me, probably. Like, full honesty, I don't think it had any physical symptoms, like immediate like dangers, like, you know, it wasn't going to cause me to lose any limbs or my organs were failing me. But psychologically and on maybe my testosterone levels, I think it was playing a real number, taking a big toll on me. Ultimately important for you to have like a happy life. And if this shit is sucking out all of your enjoyment for the things that truly matter, like being with your fucking family, then it's something that you should probably consider nixing. I mean, I would rationalize that it was helping me get work done. Yeah, all that work I was getting done playing Final Fantasy VII. But we're going to show compassion for that version of Adam because he had to be there. And this is where I lose a lot of people, because in another video, I've talked about how I'm so healed. And it's like, I was really excited when I made that video and I was happy for my progress. And I understand that it was very unrelatable because now, you know, months off it, there are times when it pops in my head and it's like, I wonder what it'd be like to try kratom. It's very few and far between. And if I'm being totally honest, which is hard to do, because it's going to sound bad, it's when things with my relationship
Yeah, he documents like using like drugs, bro. Or that's what I've seen. I mean, I don't watch all of his videos or whatever, but you know, a lot of the information that he'll put out on it or whatever, you know what I mean? It's besides like mainstream media type of thing. So, you know, because I don't trust them either, you know what I mean? But I mean, dudes say he be using all this stuff. So it's like, I don't know.
Trying to build a new relationship.
But I first found him from when I was looking at a case in the drugs, you know, that the person that were involved in the case, you know what I'm saying? Dude had been on them before, so I was just kind of like looking
with my family.
I'm sub to another guy that like literally documents like his like DMT highs and acid trips and all type of other shit.
And when things get rocky there, and obviously in the beginning there's
just
gonna be
random
bumps,
shit.
That's when the thoughts pop up, and it's like, remember what you used to do in these instances, Adam? This is when you would take Kratom. It might make you feel better. And like, as soon as I have those thoughts now, I'm just like, nope, no thanks. Not going down that road again. I got books and books of evidence as to show me that it starts off at 3.5 grams. And oh, let's see, 5 months later. What are we at 5 months later? 5 months later, starting dose 5.5 grams, followed by 3.5 grams, followed by 2 grams, followed by another 1.5 grams. Holy shit. So now we're dosing 1, 2, 3, 4, and some of these days 5, 6 times. And you know what? If you went back to another book where this one has 3 doses, it would start off as 1. And then 1 would become 2, and then 2 would become 3, and 3 would become 4, 4 would become 5, 5 would become 6, 6 would become 7, and before you know it, I'm just not recording this shit anymore because it's just taking up my entire day, and there's not even a point because it's just all day, every day, Kratom, to try to mask how shitty I'm actually feeling, because there's a lot of shit in my life that I need to face, and instead of actually talking and working through feelings, we're just going to stuff them deep down inside and numb them with this fucking Band-Aid of green sludge. And that's my video. I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button.
I put the link already in there. We're actually going to go back to his channel because he has one more that I think is interesting. It's called so basically he's going to talk about why he stopped Kratom and is it truly safe. Let me get the link for this.
Before we get started, I'd like to share a quick message with the Google employee who will be reviewing whether this video passes the advertiser-friendly guidelines and as a result is shared normally by the algorithm. In the following video, I educate the audience about the safe use of the plant called Kratom. Particularly, I talk about the dangers associated with its use that people keep sweeping under the rug. Kratom is currently legal in North America as well as most other countries. This is not a video about an illegal substance, nor do we promote the use of either legal or illegal compounds. This video is designed to educate what safe use looks like and to disclose what can happen when someone abuses this legal plant in order to keep people educated and safe.
Yeah, but she didn't.
According to the guidelines listed here, videos which discuss drugs or substances for educational, documentary,
she claims she got hers from Mexico,
and artistic purposes are generally suitable for advertising so long as substance use is not graphic or glorified. Absolutely no substance use has been displayed in this video, nothing is glorified, and the discussion is to educate. As you can see, we've been very careful to ensure this video follows the guidelines, and we are including as much context as possible to make our intent clear. Thank you. Before you rush to hate this video or you mistakenly believe that this is going to help in making them ban Kratom, you really do need to hear me out and listen to my story. Because in actuality, what I believe is that this video will help it remain legal, but not only that, it will also help to protect a lot of the users out there from the mountains of bullshit that Kratom advocates have been peddling, my old self included, which does nothing but really harm both the user and just Kratom as a whole.
He's adding. I'm dead.
Okay, Google, how long does Kratom withdrawal last?
Here's a summary from the website ensobotanicals.com. Another similarity is found between caffeine and Kratom withdrawal duration, typically lasting from 3 to 4 days.
Okay, Google, your information is wrong.
I always try to tell the truth. I take honesty seriously.
Now, before I get into my own story as to why I stopped taking Kratom, of which the details might shock some of you. I do need to make it undeniably clear that by no means is the intent of this video to suggest that Kratom is inherently harmful or that I'm necessarily against its use for those individuals who do need it. For these reasons, before I do get into my story, I think it's absolutely necessary that I first point out reasons as to why Kratom should remain legal and available, regardless of my own personal experience with the compound. For those of you who don't know, Kratom or Kratom is a psychoactive plant which is native to Southeast Asia. It has been consumed by the locals for probably hundreds of years. What people like to do is drink the dried powdered leaves for its various medicinal and psychoactive effects. For one, it's a very powerful analgesic. It can cause euphoria, and also depending on the dose and strain, it can either increase somebody's energy and cause them to feel more motivated, or it can have the opposite effect and make someone feel very relaxed and chill and, well, sedated. It can make you extremely tired. Safety-wise, no one has ever been documented to have died directly.
I guess there's different kinds of Kratom, like leaves or whatever.
Result of Kratom consumption. People have died who had Kratom found in their system, but it was never proven, at least undeniably, that Kratom was the cause of their demise. In the United States, they currently are claiming that 36 people total have in fact died from just simply overdosing on Kratom. Now let's just pretend for a second that this information is true and 36 people have total. What gets me is that this number is still remarkably low, especially when you consider things like every single year, 500 or more people die from being stepped on by elephants, or over 300 people die every year due to overdosing on Tylenol. Not to mention that in other countries such as Canada, they don't have a single confirmed or even, supposed death attached to Kratom. I believe that for a lot of individuals, especially those with addictive personalities, it can be better than pharmaceutical grade pain medications, primarily because Kratom has a very strong ceiling effect. Basically, when users dose too high, which can often mean just 1 gram or sometimes even less than their average dose, which might only be 4 or 5 grams, what can happen is a complete flip of effects, where they might have been already feeling euphoric and say they were trying to dose more to feel higher, to use it recreationally. Instead, what can happen is the user can become nauseous to the point where they vomit, sometimes for hours on end. And also all of the good feelings that they did have they really just will turn to shit. Usually what happens is when a user first realizes that you can't keep taking Kratom to get higher and higher, they keep their doses to average, levels because they don't want to feel like shit again. Or a lot of people actually just never even touch Kratom again after that experience. That's why it is such a powerful substance, in my opinion, for helping people quit harder drugs.
So in my opinion, I just want to pause it for a second. Kratom, however, could be, and probably Xanax and Ativan too, because, those are the next two things I'm going to look into as far as like side effects, how they make you feel like if you come down, because I ain't never been on that shit. But like I'm kind of feeling, the people that support, Kratom, don't come at me or whatever. But I do think that it may have played a part in her behavior, meaning Andrea's behavior, Dre, and also Marvon or Von's behavior. Possibly, when he was talking about he thinks he has PTSD, or I don't know what was really going on behind the scenes, because even that audio is kind of sketching itself. I wish we had the video to go with it. Like, why is it just that there was audio? That was kind of weird. But possibly, in my opinion, the Kratom that they were taking, I'm talking about the 2 tablespoons, and or also the medication may have played a part in his attitude, or the fact that he was depressed and things like that. And I think he knew that if he got away from her, he probably wouldn't be on Kratom, maybe, or whatever. Maybe he peeped that shit. I don't know.
Because you really, can't abuse it in the same way. That's not to say that it can't be abused, but it's harder to abuse it recreationally than other drugs, which don't have that ceiling effect. But regardless of all of these positive effects that I'm talking about,
Right.
this still does not mean that kratom is necessarily one.
But she has looked, started to look very sick. She, originally when she was taking it, she was definitely plus size, and shit like that. Not making fun of that. I am plus size as well, but, she was, you know, pretty heavier set. Like you could see in this picture right here, her face is, you know, plump, right? She was, you know, I would say about a 14, 15, maybe a 18, something like that. And now she looks like a skinny ass alien or ET's cousin. Like, and it's really sad.
100% safe, non-addictive.
Okay, okay, Michelle.
Free from its
Thank
own
you.
withdrawals. They might not be as bad as heroin withdrawals, but the compound is really not as benign as a
Turmeric made you throw up? Now I've took that before, but I took like it was like these little drinks or whatever, you know, because it's just like you know, like a supplement. But I took them and they was straight. And then they got like the little turmeric powder or whatever too. You could put that in a drink, but I didn't have an issue with that. But I never even thought, I never even knew. I swear I never even seen kratom.
A lot of the internet would, you know, lead you to believe. And what I hope to do by sharing my story is to bring a lot of this misinformation to an end. The thing is, if it wasn't for all this misinformation that I read and then naively believed, I would have personally never began using kratom daily. I mean, it slowly ramped up to daily. I'll get into it shortly. No matter what my reasons were, even if I did have good reasons for it, because, well, I don't believe the benefits really did outweigh the negatives, at least not for me. A lot of the time online when somebody does speak up and they start to talk about some of the very real negatives that do come from, again, usually it's daily use. If you're using it sparingly, like maybe once or twice a week, these negatives are not going to be apparent. Well, that's when the community at large kind of tries to shut you up. And fancy thing about me is,
yeah, that we were talking about that yesterday.
I really don't care what you guys think about me. I'm here to relay my honest experiences and non-biased information. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you my experience, at least what happened to me and what I've noticed has happened to others. Anyway, let's get into my story. So basically, the first time I tried kratom was a little over 2 years ago. Now, I was first interested in it because I was at that time also diagnosed with ADHD. I was basically diagnosed at 30, and I have a video coming out about that soon. And I really didn't want to use my ADHD meds the way they were prescribed because I'm against taking something every single day because of how it can mess up your neurochemistry. I mean, fancy that. It's a total walking contradiction. But anyway, so what I was doing was looking for compounds that I could use in between what I called my focus med doses. So I would take the prescribed amphetamines once every 3 to 5 days, and then maybe 1 or 2 days a week, I would take kratom because I believe that since it was, you know, a plant that holds stupid, you know, it's natural, so it's got to be safe bullshit. And that's largely why I was using it, because it
Facts, Anastasia. That's a big fact.
actually did help me feel motivated, and it was helping me get work done. So what happened with kratom was actually rather unique in the fact that I didn't start taking it every day because I became addicted to it. I started taking it every day because I hurt my back. As a lot of you guys know, I like to work out. Sometimes I'm a bit of an idiot and I just lift weight that's way too heavy for me because now I'm in my 30s and I'm becoming this old man who needs to friggin' warm up so much more than I used to. I was totally blown away with the analgesic effects. It would make the back pain disappear for anywhere from 4 to even 8 hours. That's why I started taking the kratom daily. But as soon as you make that jump to daily use, it doesn't really stop there, because now that, at least for me, now that I allowed myself to consume it every day, what happened was once a day would become twice a day, because the first dose, which started at 4 grams, which eventually became 6.5 grams, would either not really do much or I'd only feel it for 30 minutes. So I'd have to take that dose, and then an hour or two later, I'd take another 1.5 to 3 grams to really even get the same effects that I used to get from half that much. And then 6 hours later, I would start getting withdrawal effects. I'd get a runny nose and I'd start feeling just really down and shitty. So I would take another dose of about 4 to 5 grams, which would, carry me through to the next morning. And this habit of doing a dose and then a little booster and then another dose, which is technically 3 doses a day, kind of carried on for a while. Might have even been as long as 4 or 5 months of dosing that heavy. I was averaging anywhere from 12 to 15 grams of Kratom per day. The only days that I'd really take off from consuming Kratom would be on days where I would consume the focus meds, which oddly enough, I did keep a pretty steady schedule with. The primary problem with consuming something so frequently is it actually does change your neurochemistry. It causes a physical shift. Neurologically, the brain is always trying to reach a state of homeostasis. It's always trying to stay leveled because your brain has figured out, okay, every day I'm getting this new substance in, so I'm going to adjust the way I function and what I produce to level off and make things average. So now you slowly begin having to take more and more to really get any effects at all. And even then, a lot of the time, all that's really happening is the drug is making you feel normal. Now, the greatest factor in regards to how much your brain is actually going to change is going to have to do with how frequently you're using and, of course, the sizes of each dose. My use was actually considered pretty heavy by Kratom standards. Now, there's more at play than just your brain's neurochemistry shifting. There is actually an addictive property to Kratom in that you, even mentally, start to yearn for it. What it does is, it's very similar to smoking or really just all drugs. It puts little hooks inside you. What you start to do mentally is you attach certain things with the use of Kratom and it becomes habitual. For example,
he ain't like her like that. I think he was trying to get away from her.
All of a sudden, when you're on Kratom, going out and socializing feels a lot easier. At least for me, it would make me feel more social, to the point where you don't even
Are you saying when they first met, he didn't like her like that, and then he still went with it,
want to leave your house without...
I mean, even a minute ago when she was plus size, like, bruh, did she really do her makeup like this? Because why? I mean, or was this picture taken to be funny? But he literally should have laughed at her wigs, child, because what the fuck is this? There is no part in here. These are like city cosplay wigs. This bitch is a joke. And I would have literally laughed at her. She is not funny, but she is funny to look at.
It. So you start thinking, how can I quit taking this
I
thing
cannot.
When
what was he thinking?
I depend on it so much just to no longer feel so introverted.
Something in that tea, facts.
I do want to explain some of the negative effects that I received just from dosing so frequently. For one, I felt very unmotivated, which isn't like me. I think I let my body go the most that I have in over 10 years. I just felt really no
I think we watched that video yesterday in the live that I did yesterday.
Exercise anymore.
Is that when he was like laying in the bed and like he wasn't feeling good? And she I don't know, she had a bowl though or something like that. And then she had like a tincture of something. And then she like went in the other room to get no, you're talking about a tablespoon, it sounds like.
Kind of just makes you feel...
I don't know. There was a video, and that video still bothers me till today, like even right now, because just the video, and then he was like moaning and groaning in the background. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Just really relaxed and calm and like everything is okay in life. It's a numbing effect. I mean, you are on a painkiller, so even emotional pain isn't the same. It always made me feel angrier, especially as it would start to wear off. While it was in effect, I'd feel calm, but as it wore off, I was more likely to lose my temper, to snap at people. Some of the other negative effects are is it actually decreases the amount of testosterone you produce. Not to mention, it can completely destroy your sex drive, which, as you guys can imagine, is really great when you're in a relationship. Now, again...
Is this another reason why maybe old girl was complaining or something, or... I don't know, because she was on it too, so if she was on it, was it destroying her sex drive as well? Because to me, it looks like something is fucking her up. She taking something, and I don't really think she just taking them 2 tablespoons. Like we had said before, if she's offering or suggesting that he take more, she clearly has discovered, oh, the reward in me taking Kratom is for some reason, somehow I'm losing weight. And that's like her go-to or whatever. Hold on. Anastasia says 7 seizures and didn't take him to the hospital. That's what I'm saying. Like, she just grimy as fuck. Like, I think she trying to kill him off. Maybe she got some, you know, like a life insurance policy or something. Like, something ain't right. And then the fact that, did y'all hear about how, like, I guess one of the kids was having seizures, and then he started having seizures, though, the husband, Vaughn. But before that, it was like an animal, like a cat or something was having a seizure or something. I don't really know, but somebody had said something under one of my videos, and I was like, what the hell? And I meant to go back and look at it before the live, but my man.
I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but I do want to point out that all of these negative effects are simply when someone consumes Kratom daily.
Hey, Preach, salute. We're looking at Kratom and the effects of it and stuff like that.
Or multiple times a day. There really aren't many drugs that you can safely use every day. And I guess what I'm getting at is because of all the misinformation out there and all the lies about withdrawals, I thought that if I ever wanted to quit and get off it, you know, if my back stopped hurting, which was really my reason.
And somebody had also sent me something and saying that Sebi never said to take Kratom. But the video that I'll probably show tomorrow, I do want to edit it because it is like 2.5 hours or whatever. But maybe we'll just look at it in its totality. But, you know, the lady, she's melanated. She had said that old girl was following the Sebi diet. That's where I got it from. But when I heard Be Sick diet, I just automatically thought of Sebi. Not saying that, but I did say that she said that she was following the Sebi diet and was taking Kratom. I did say that yesterday, so I didn't mean to say it like that. I apologize.
Taking it until it got to the point where I realized, you know, my back hasn't even hurt for over a month, and I'm still taking this every day, and I feel like I can't stop. And that's when...
Yeah, but there's just some type of like disorders or diseases or whatever epilepsy is classified under. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, but where you gotta like take it, like epilepsy is not one of them things where you just get to fucking around. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we're talking about seizures. Seizures are so serious, and it's not good. So in some instances, she really should have done what was right. And I'm not saying take every drug that they, you know, told him to take, but it's funny, just the ones that she had him taking, which was Ativan and Xanax, which slow your heart rate down. And then also, to me, I mean, she was using the Kratom to mask the bitterness of something else, in my opinion.
Like the light.
Yeah, they are. I seen people have, I never seen somebody have a seizure like in real life, like in my face, knock on wood. But I've seen it on like TV and stuff, and that is so scary looking. And also when people pass out, like, because their eyes do this weird thing or whatever.
I got a problem here. What happened was I realized that I was never going to feel like myself again as long as I was consuming Kratom. And I was kind of contradicting everything I stand for. I must have believed that because it was a plant, it meant that it was okay, or because it was related to coffee.
Yeah, the parents not being able to see him. Now, somebody did come in here and clarify that the grandparents were able to communicate with Vaughn, but she cut off communication with Vaughn's mother and father to Vaughn. And that is alarming to me, period. Like, I would have went down there like, girl, bye. Like, couldn't nobody tell me I can't see my sons? Like, period. Sons, whatever. What's good information, man? I just think that that's really just crazy, though. Like, that would have been inclination that something was wrong right there to me. Like, what is going on? But there did seem to be some type of, you know, obviously separation between Vaughn and his mother, or, you know, potentially his father. I don't know how that all, like, I don't know all the ins and outs of that, and I will state that. But for some reason he was like reintroduced like to his mother later on in life or at some point, but he did seem to be excited about it. So it's not like he was with like, yeah, don't tell my mom nothing or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
And you can drink coffee every day, that I could take Kratom every day when it was fine. I, on some level, really believe that the effects were very benign. And I used to tell people this, and I was just so effing wrong. And I'm completely okay admitting when I'm wrong.
You
We
did?
all make
Oh,
mistakes in
man.
life. And what's really important is that you learn from them and grow so you can continue on.
Yes.
Making more mistakes and learning from those and growing. Again, the reason why I was apprehensive to make this video is because I don't want to make it look like Kratom is this dangerous thing. Well, the truth is, what's dangerous is just taking any drug every single day, unless you plan on doing that for the rest of your life. For example, if I was in chronic pain every day due to a serious injury, then I'd feel no problem with taking it every day. So what it really just comes down to is, what are your symptoms? Do you actually need it? And are you prepared to be dependent on this compound? If the answer is no to that, then you probably shouldn't. Before long, you're not going to be you without it. Not to mention, quitting is a goddamn hellish nightmare.
I agree. Definitely. Oh. Hey, Miss Me. Shout out to those that are entering the room as well.
I had my last dose of the day, and it was that evening that I started getting the
Oh,
withdrawal
man.
effects, which was really just a runny nose. And I thought, I guess what I read, that's all that was going to happen. Sleeping that night was fine. I didn't really have any issues. But the next day,
I agree, Anastasia.
I felt terrible. It was really challenging to make it through the day without dosing. I had a lot of mental and even physical cravings for it. I just physically felt like shit. I had no energy. I felt sick. I had a runny nose. My sinuses were all clogged up, and I had no motivation to do anything, not even make myself food. I didn't have an appetite. That night is when I realized, okay, I'm in for a battle here, because sleeping was basically out of the question. I had not only full-on insomnia, I started getting shakes. My body would just, but then it would kind of evolve into more from just shaking to like, it would be in my hand and I'd have to just shake this hand, and then I'd like use all my energy to stop that hand from shaking, and then it would go to this hand. And
We're talking about there's a situation that unfolded with another YouTuber and her husband, where the husband allegedly hung himself from some shed that you could like buy at Lowe's or Home Depot, Menards, whatever. And it really just doesn't all make sense, because let's talk about this. How you, like I said yesterday, how you hang somebody, like how somebody hang themselves and then somebody else cut the rope down, but the rope, there's only one part of the rope down there. They never documented that there was a part of the rope that was hanging from whatever he, secured the rope with too. You know what I'm saying? Like a beam or whatever. There would have, if you cut somebody down, there would have still been another part of the rope on the beam. There was not that. I did post the police report via a channel called, what was her channel name? Aunt Karen Zero. So it's just the number 0, not the word. But she went through the police report and things like that and kind of gave her feelings on it, as well as last night we had looked at it as well for a little while. The situation is weird. Anyway, Kratom is involved. If you don't know about Kratom is a supplement. It's in the supplement category. There's reasons that people take it, like pain, or it is in the opiate family as well. So sometimes people take it to, maybe, let's say if they're on heroin, they may want to take it so that they can wean off of heroin or whatever, and things like that. However, it is highly addictive, and if you take too much, it can have certain effects. Going back to the case, Vaughn was having seizures. I did find, though, that if you take an extremely large amount of Kratom, like I think is going on with Dre and what's going on in that home with Vaughn, you can get to a state to where your body just goes into a seizure. Okay, you heard of it? So we looking at that, and I didn't really know that much about Kratom. So yesterday, Jeanette was kind enough to come up here and kind of give her words. Preach came up and gave his words. So you know, he hadn't used it, but he, you know, knew about the case as well. So right now we're just learning about Kratom, and you know, could it give you a seizure? Yes, because before I kind of didn't know, and what I did research on it, it wasn't bringing up the results that I got today when I took a deeper look when I had a chance to. So that's kind of what we're just looking at right now.
I'd be like, oh, stop this hand from shaking, and then next thing I know, my
Yeah.
leg is... I thought, there's no way in hell
Hey,
I'm
Sierra.
never gonna get to sleep. On the third day, the effects just got worse and worse. I had absolutely no energy. I kept explaining to people that it felt like I was moving through quicksand. Like, just my movements felt slow, and I started getting joint.
They sure didn't. They sure didn't. There's a number of things. Like, I know I just gave that little synopsis. I haven't really wrote down everything that issue that I have with this case, but yeah, I'm starting to look into it, like, just on my free time or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I don't feel right about this. I feel like that woman was poisoning him. Like, there was something going on. Because again, we're not blaming Kratom for, you know, we can't blame it for that. But if he was depressed, could Kratom have added to depression? Yes. Can you have a seizure off of Kratom? Yes. But I think that she was poisoning him, and I don't believe the story. Again, also, like, come on. When y'all heard that they said that there was no marks around the neck of Vaughn, bro, if you hang for any amount of time, you're going to have marks around your neck from whatever you were hanging yourself with or whatever. So it was just, that whole thing is very weird. And plus, she literally follows him around everywhere and all this and that. So you mean to tell me he left out the house, he went to the shed, he decided that he was finna stand on his chair and, you know, do that to himself, and then what? You know, you had to have been right behind him. In reality, like, I don't know, from what I've researched or whatever, this lady is fucking insane. She's a lunatic, and I think the police need to do their job and get justice for this man, like, for real.
Pain, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. I felt absolutely
Okay, my bad. I remember that you was here earlier. I thought you may have
so
left.
low. I felt like without Kratom, I was never going to experience happiness again. What really struck me the hardest was just how depleted my energy
Yes.
was. Like, even just going to the bathroom was a challenge. Getting up was a challenge.
That's what it looks like
I
to me.
couldn't move. I've never had that little energy before. And I kept thinking,
Oh man, that would be awesome, because then we'd be able to see all type of stuff, because she also, Dre also was allegedly, like, aggressive at the scene when the police you know, pulled up and was trying to help them and all that, you know. Why are you mad? Why are you aggressive? Like, you any other wife, you know, one that doesn't want to kill their husband or whatever, would be crying, would be, you know, very attentive. Like, it just seemed like, from what was in the report, that she was aggressive. Like, she was angry. She really just was not on that. And that's not the response that I would have. I'm a wife. That ain't the response that I'm going to have. But I wouldn't kill my husband either. So
old people feel. No wonder they move so slow. 'Cause
Facts,
I was moving
ballin'.
like a 90-year-old man. And then I started doing research, and that's when I realized that these withdrawals aren't uncommon from daily use. They're actually quite common. I also realized that the best
shit, he ain't got no marks allegedly though. Like, I just don't trust it.
way to quit Kratom, because these withdrawals suck so
Or
hard.
maybe they didn't even look. Maybe they didn't even document. Like, I'm just saying. Ooh.
Is to actually lower your dose very slowly. A lot of people suggest lowering your dose 10% each month, meaning
well, it could take like half a year or more to quit. And I thought, hell no, I don't want to do this. I want to be done with this as quickly as possible. I don't want to have to drink this green sludge for the rest of my life to just feel like myself. But one of the things that I decided to do to really help me through the process was work out again. Even though I really didn't feel like it, I felt like absolute shit, but I still forced myself to exercise, because in doing that, I realized that I could force myself to do things that I don't enjoy, such as I could force myself to get through this shitty process. What a lot of people don't realize who have never gone through an addiction, huge reason why people fail and they relapse is not because they necessarily want to get high. What I found was the actual cravings disappeared really quickly. Within 3 or 4 days after my last dose, I physically wasn't craving it, for the uplifting effects. I was just craving any way I could to feel normal again, to be able to sleep. I can't even imagine what people go through who are getting off heroin and how much they need something like Kratom to help.
Yeah, I had showed this earlier. So like, I don't know if y'all could see this, but at the top it says, update, the hospital is on lockdown for all visitors of Vaughn. Not even Andrea can visit any longer. So that is what they allege. And then it was followed up with, let me see. Get this off of here really quick. There's that one. I'll just leave it there for a second so y'all can read it if you can. Hopefully y'all can see it. But then there's also this one where they continue the conversation on. I would be mindful though, there is some groups that are, forming and stuff. Well, they're already formed, and there's 2 ladies that I kind of spoke about yesterday that are an issue, I think, when it comes to looking at crime cases. Like, don't look at crime cases and get to fucking around playing and shit, like, and doing too much. These type of chicks will go to the crime scene and stalk the people of crime cases, and those 2 people, one being Molly Golightly and Without a Crystal Ball. Now, I did do another thing where I did a video on I thought that only the black sectors acted like this, and I gathered up a bunch of situations that happened in the crama community. That's what it's called, crime and drama put together. Like, again, this is just not something that is like funny to me or whatever. Like, I think people need to take shit serious, and I've seen a lot of bad acting over there and shit like that, but there was other things that were exposed. But I don't know. I don't really trust them. I don't trust that type of crowd or whatever. Not all of the crama community, just those ones that I had, put in the video or whatever, and mainly Molly and Without a Crystal Ball. I think that they're trash, and they could do better, but in reality, they just want to be the next Nancy Grace, and that's all they're concerned about. So, like, I've done true crime, I do true crime, and I think that people should just try harder. That's all, at least. But allegedly, the hospital is on lockdown far as Vaughn getting seen by anybody, and also allegedly, is this the mother? Has they put a Cash App out there for donations for the mother, and several people have made or changed their Cash App name and added this lady's picture in it. I'm kind of just wondering, like, what cash does she need right now? I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm always skeptical about GoFundMes and Cash App in situations like this. Like, what would the mother need money for? Is that even real? Like, that's just something that I want to look into. But there's a lot of weird activity even concerning this case as well as others. Molly messed up, made several mistakes in the Watts case, as well as Without a Crystal Ball, and several other cases. Like, they just be playing with cases, and they only care about, mainly Caucasian cases, except for this one, even though there's racism in their community, everybody over there acts like, well, Molly Golightly and Without a Crystal Ball in them are acting like they care so much about justice for Von and shit, but bitch, y'all don't even like black people. In y'all comment section, y'all allow a lot of racism. Y'all in the sector, people say racist shit. You're not calling them out on it. Y'all allow it to happen. So don't sit here and tell me that you care about Von being alive or not. No, bitch, this is just the next cash cow type of situation. And me, when I look into true crime, I don't pick it up for, you know, because all the victim looks like this or this, that, and the fifth. I'll pick up a case that didn't nobody ever even hear of, damn near. You know what I mean? Ain't even no news story yet on it. You know what I mean? Period. But when people do shit for money, that is their motive. So I just wanted to give that too. I already left the link for him. I'll just post it again and we'll kind of move on because it's the end of the video anyway. And then so the last one that I have is kind of boring. It's kind of like a lecture or whatever, but basically this was for the Seattle Science Foundation. And I just wanted to look at this with y'all because hold on, my thing is stuck. Okay. This is about Kratom use and dependency with Kate. I'm not even going to try to butcher her last name, but here is the video if you want to use it as reference. I wanted to look at this though, because at the same time, yes, Kratom was used in this case or whatever. However, I think that it may have caused the attitude change a little bit. I think that Von was given more Kratom than he should have by Dre, because I think Dre is taking more than what she should have as well. I also do think though that she used that to poison him, because Kratom, we found out, is very bitter. Also, so is rat poisoning. So whatever, I'm just saying. And he was also on Xanax and Ativan. I'm not saying these things like when I say my opinion, I'm not stating it as facts. That's just what I think. But regardless, whatever happened, this lady is, in my opinion, somehow responsible. So I'm gonna continue to look at the case or whatever. I might not come back and talk about it tomorrow though, because I do want to do some more looking into things. But I will continue to, you know, look into it. But there's other channels that are talking about this and they may have more information. I just refuse to use any of Molly Golightly or Without a Crystal Ball's, you know, work or whatever, because I look at them as sensationalists. Like, they don't really care. They do this for money. And, you know, but there's other people, there's melanated people talking about it. There's people in other countries. They've already said that Von is dead, though. They did like RIP videos. And you will see that a lot. People cloud chase anything or don't even know what's going on. They tried to say that Von was in a car accident. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, something ain't right. Let me just tell you that. But I think it was more for just like clickbait, clout chase. You know, the name is kind of up in some areas as far as like trending or whatever. But anyway, let me shut the hell up. I think I'm getting tired. That's when I talk a lot. This is the last video. This is 28 minutes and 48 seconds. It's Kratom use and dependency. Let's take a look.
I hope is introducing some new and helpful information for you. So just some learning objectives for this talk. I have some written up here that you can review as well.
Yes, I'll be keeping this up. Anastasia, thank you for subscribing and thank you for joining us and giving us your 2 cents. I appreciate you. Thank you.
And I think they're basically characterized as what is Kratom, where did it come from, who's using it, and why does it matter? Why do we care in our clinical practice? And what tools can we use as providers to address potential health concerns that come along with use?
Okay, well, that maybe, you know, I could see that. I just get skeptical when people start doing certain things. You know what I mean? No, the woman giving her Cash App is not a necessarily bad thing. It doesn't like spell out, you know, there's a scam going on here or anything like that. I get kind of skeptical a little bit, but that does make sense though if she is hiring a lawyer.
This substance. So just going back to the real basics of what am I even talking about right now? And first of all, pronunciation will vary with the words that I'm using. I'm choosing to pronounce it kratom. Other people have used the pronunciation kratom. But the leaves there pictured are this tropical evergreen plant that is indigenous to Southeast Asia. It is sort of related to the coffee plant for plant enthusiasts out there. And then additionally in this image are capsules and powders that show a little bit about modes of ingestion that I'll get into later. So that's what this substance is. And then to answer the question of where did it come from? So I mentioned Southeast Asia. Specifically, it has been used for hundreds to thousands of years, even in Thailand, Malaysia, and Myanmar specifically. And I've listed some other names that kratom goes by in those countries in the different languages.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. The doctors weren't aware of what it is.
Languages. Historically, it's been used, the leaves themselves have been chewed, either fresh or dried, or they've been consumed orally in teas or even smoked as well. And historically, manual laborers, so fishermen, farmers, rubber tappers, really physical work in northern Malaysia and southern Thailand would use these leaves to improve productivity, improve energy, and relieve fatigue during these jobs. And it's also been used as sort of a traditional treatment for many different medical problems.
Yep, brain dead with no brain movement at all. I don't know if that's the right word to say, but
as
brain activity, that's what I meant.
Wide-ranging as diabetes, diarrhea, fever, and even topically as a wound poultice. So really diverse uses. And it has also been used for quite some time as an opiate replacement for people who are dependent on opium, and has been used for that purpose as well. So all those things might actually sound kind of good. So what's the problem? And is everybody just loving kratom use in the countries of origin? Turns out no, it actually has presented some significant problems for these countries. And those problems were recognized as early as the mid-20th century. So as you can see on the left hand of the slide, there have been significant sort of criminalization actions taken related to kratom out of the concern for the side effects, the potential toxicity, and the dependence that has resulted from widespread use in these countries. And on the right.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that, God's girl.
This is just a 2012 New York Times article showing that that Thailand has had significant difficulty, even in the context of having made possession illegal decades ago, that it's still responsible for a huge number of drug seizures and legal issues. So now moving towards talking about our communities, we'll start just sort of US wide and then sort of zero in a little bit more on our communities. In the US, we have limited data to really assess use, and as it's relatively unknown and more of a kind of an emerging substance. The data that we have is quite subjective and sort of survey based. So I'll talk about this survey of 10,000 US kratom users that was done through the American Kratom Association. The acknowledgement here is that this was done as an English language survey and it was online, so for people who have access to online forums. But that being said, it's quite a large survey, and so here are some demographic pieces of information that we can glean and provide some picture, albeit incomplete, of who might be using kratom in the US. And so now we can see this is we talked about regulatory issues kind of internationally and in the countries of origin, and now just to review, what is the legal status of Kratom here in the US? And what is interesting when you kind of compare the two is that Kratom is relatively unregulated here. And so the point of this slide is not to show you all of the different colors and talk about all of those different kind of statuses of Kratom throughout the US, but it's to show the number of dark green states, basically. And so dark green is where there's no pending legislation to either ban or regulate the use or sale of Kratom. And so as you can see, Washington State is dark green. There are notably 6 states that are red. That is where Kratom is banned. And so why is that? Why are there so many concerns in other countries and they've passed legislation, but it's relatively unregulated here? It's a complex issue. And so the American Kratom Association and many people who use Kratom throughout the country feel very strongly that it shouldn't be regulated and that there are positive benefits to it. And so there's a pretty strong lobby for lack of regulation. And I just wanted to illustrate that the power of that lobby using this sort of case study. In 2016, the DEA was wanted to place mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine. These are the active substances within Kratom under Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act, which would place it in a similar status as drugs like methamphetamine. The American Kratom Association had a very strong lobbying presence, both in a signature campaign and advocating to their members of Congress to write to the DEA in opposition to this. HHS, another government agency that you would think would be, quite powerful as an advocate, did recommend the Schedule 1 status, but ultimately it was not placed on that list. So the advocacy efforts of people who use Kratom and the organizations associated with them were successful. It is on a drugs of concern list, but this doesn't lead to any sort of substantive nationwide regulation. So if you're hearing this and it's surprising to you, or you haven't been aware of this before, I wanted to bring it into kind of a patient case and a specific way that this has affected my clinical practice, to have you sort of reflect on your patients, your clinical practice, and if any of this has occurred for you. So a 56-year-old white female is establishing care at our clinic. She has prior substance use disorder history and some depression and anxiety, and then shared that she is using Kratom. And the amount that she is using was 12 capsules every 3 hours. And so just kind of consider the pill capsule burden of that every day. And she shared that that had escalated over the years. The reasons she was using that was to prevent alcohol cravings, help with her mood symptoms, and she had some chronic pain as well. And as you'll see up there, that's a quote from her, that it has been a miracle drug. So extremely helpful for those things. And, sort of was pre-contemplative about any potential downsides. And now this slide may seem a little weird. I'm not suggesting that you go out and buy Kratom necessarily, but I do think you'll start to notice, as people that I've shared this talk with previously, you'll start to notice that it's not ubiquitous, but it's widespread. And so you'll see flags for it in gas stations. There are stores on Capitol Hill and elsewhere in Seattle that sell it. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight on this slide are the ways that US consumers are taking Kratom. Vast majority are taking it orally, so in capsule or kind of liquid form. And we know that based on that same survey of the 10,000 US Kratom users. And so if you ask someone in your clinical practice, are you using Kratom? How will you know what that means when they tell you? What does 12 capsules every 3 hours mean? It can be hard to know. So the most common dosing, again, based on this large survey that we have, are doses between 1 and 5 grams per dose at a time. And then there's a wide variety of ways that people are using it in terms of the frequency of dosing. you know, I think we can extrapolate based on these patterns that there are some people who are using it sort of as needed, maybe recreationally, maybe for different purposes. And then there is a portion of the population who's using it multiple times a day, potentially in kind of a scheduled way, like my patient was. And so just to talk a little bit about pharmacology, we got a great setup from Dr. Sullivan talking about the way that opioids work in terms of their receptor activity. And I am calling this an atypical opioid, and I'll show you kind of some differences between it. Basically, kratom is a plant alkaloid, and an alkaloid is a nitrogen-containing compound in plants. Just to give you a sense of other alkaloids that you all know, those include caffeine, nicotine, and then drugs like cocaine and morphine as well. And there are more than 40 different alkaloids in kratom, but there are two that really seem to matter the most so far from what we know. Mitragynine comprises the largest sort of mass of among the alkaloids, and it has a sort of opiate-like potency similar to codeine. And then the one that really kind of should catch our attention is the 7-hydroxymitragynine. While it only comprises 2% of the alkaloids, it has been estimated to be between 10 and 20 times more potent than morphine. This kratom in general, when it is acting as an opioid, it is a mu-opioid agonist, much like we were talking about with buprenorphine, and it is a kappa and delta antagonist, again, like buprenorphine, as we discussed previously. Why do people use it and like it and feel like it helps with things like pain? So as I said, it acts at the mu-opioid receptor, and then it has some predictable downstream effects that we would expect when that receptor is activated. Specifically, there's this G protein signaling cascade that occurs. It's not important that we get into the details of what that is, but the point is that that cascade is responsible for what we think of as some positive effects, quote unquote, of opioids, so antidepressant and analgesic effects. And what it doesn't seem to activate is a cascade called the beta-arrestin cascade, which is responsible for respiratory depression, sedation, constipation, other side effects. And so that can make it more tolerable for users, and that perception of it being sort of easier to take and tolerate. I'm not going to go in detail into the other ways that kratom has been sort of hypothesized to affect pain pathways, but I've listed 3 down here at the bottom. Kratom does seem to be active at all 3 of these additional pain modulation pathways in ways that aren't fully elucidated yet. But it seems like it could be having an anti-inflammatory effect as well. There's sort of aspects of this substance that we don't fully understand yet. And so, unsurprisingly, from the way that it works, we can see that there would be many benefits to people who use it. We talked about the ways that it addresses pain, and pain relief is a very common reason that people cite for using it in anecdotal studies. Reduction of anxiety is another one, because we have that antidepressant and potentially euphoric effect that people feel when they take it. And then another significant one is people have used kratom for quite some time to manage symptoms of other opiate dependence, and as a way to sort of wean off of other illicit opiates. And so to get a little sense of when you might feel these different effects, at the lower dose effect, so between 1 and 5 grams, is when you'll primarily get the kind of energy boost stimulant euphoric effect. And then at the higher doses is where you'll see more of the analgesic and kind of opiate replacement effect. So Isn't that wonderful? That's all. That all shows kind of the positive things. But I want to give us a word of caution, and so that's kind of where we're moving in the presentation. Is while we've seen a lot of positives, it's not that positive for everyone. So for our patient, the escalating use from 6 tabs every 3 hours up to 13, more than doubling in the course of a year, kind of indicates this lack of control in dosing. And by hour 3, our patient feels fatigue and pain and feels compelled to take additional kratom. She has experienced withdrawal before, and for her, it starts at hour 8 and is characterized by extreme anxiety. She has, in the past, become uncomfortable with this pattern of use and has attempted to discontinue use and has been unsuccessful twice. I don't think that it's important to read all of the side effects, but there are adverse effects that you'll notice that affect all different body symptoms. These are adverse effects that can occur with use, and they can also occur with cessation of use. You'll notice some things specifically that might remind you of opiate withdrawal. That would be like sweating, tremors, and sort of agitation. And then you'll notice things that seem associated with opiate use, things like constipation and sedation are all things that have been reported. And so while those side effects, when you survey users, many of them, the vast majority of them, in fact, find those to be relatively mild and transient and don't find them to be a huge problem, there have been some significant toxicities reported. And so this is a retrospective review of kratom exposures reported to the US National Poison Data System. And I think there's a couple things to note on this slide. One is the increase from 2011 to 2018. That is like a orders of magnitude increase over 7 years. The other thing to notice is that those numbers are small still, and so it's still relatively rare. And I talked about the most common adverse effects that are listed on the left side of the slide. And those can be kind of varying levels of severity. And then the severe adverse effects are things that get into more of a life-threatening realm. There's a large debate as part of the regulatory battles about whether deaths, mortality can be attributed to kratom itself alone. And there's very limited data on that. This study reports 2 deaths attributed to kratom itself, where autopsy reports did not show the presence of any other substances. There are many more fatalities reported with kratom combined with other opiate, benzodiazepine, alcohol, other substances. We get the sense from our patient case that that she's experiencing kratom dependence and having escalating use, inability to cut down her use, and feeling withdrawal symptoms when she does not. And while many kratom users report that this is not a problem for them, there is significant evidence that it is for a proportion of people who take it. And so a 2014 study of regular users in Malaysia, this was, I believe, about 250 young men who reported about a year of kratom use. All of them reported dependence using those criteria I just kind of specified. And we got a little bit of a sense of what the withdrawal syndrome looks like. Onset is typically between 12 and 24 hours and peak symptoms in the first few days. And as you can see here, you could replace the word kratom with any opiate, essentially, in what you would expect to see in the withdrawal picture. And so what should we do about it? If we have a patient who's using kratom, they have escalating use, and they are ready to make a change or interested in what they could do, we have some kind of hopeful and reassuring case reports about the role of buprenorphine in treating kratom dependence. And so while we also are limited in sort of randomized control trial level studies. We have some case reports that we can use as clinicians to kind of guide our best estimate on what we could do to help our patients. And so the point of listing these various protocols is to show you a couple things. So many of them started with a dosing of 4 milligrams, which is something that, as Dr. Sullivan mentioned, is a typical starting dose for a buprenorphine induction. The maintenance dose that they ended up on varied, and that varied based on patient factors. And the way that the dosing was given as maintenance varied as well. So you will notice on the first bullet point, it ended up being dosed 4 times a day. The second one also 4 times a day. Look at that. All of those were 4 times a day. And then you'll see in the 2019 study that they ended up using daily dosing. And what you might consider there is the proportion of patients who had been taking kratom for chronic pain indicates that a split dosing of buprenorphine may be more appropriate for them as maintenance, because buprenorphine, when split into multiple times a day dosing, has shown increased effectiveness for patients for pain management. There are not studies of microdosing protocols yet. This is all very emerging. And so these were all done using the traditional way. And so adjunctive meds like clonidine and hydroxyzine for that prominent anxiety component were used in these case studies. And we spent some time in the last presentation discussing what a capture dose would be based on use of a substance. And what's kind of funny is that even though there is in total much less data here, we actually have some really nice guidelines for that. It's in graph form on the right, and I put it into table form on the left. On the right, you have the x-axis, which is kratom used at presentation in grams. And you'll remember it was 1 to 5 grams per dose, and then a really wide variation in number of doses per day. And then the maintenance bup in each of the case studies that they had. This is a very low N. So each of these dots is a person. So we're not talking about amazing data sets, but it's something that we could go on with our knowledge of buprenorphine as a really safe and effective medication. So in case you guys are wondering what happened with my patient, it's a complicated story, as all patients are. And so she initially was not really interested in other opiate replacement and wanted to just taper alone. And since her anxiety was a prominent component, we trialed clonidine as a PRN method for addressing that withdrawal symptom. And she was able to reduce her use, but did not abstain from using that. The second thing that one of our providers discussed with her was a microdosing technique that sounded like, it was worth a try. Unfortunately, our patient decided that she'd rather not do that. And she abruptly stopped kratom and experienced a severe withdrawal that resulted in an emergency department visit. Luckily, she didn't have any significant lasting morbidity from that and didn't require admission, but did have that severe withdrawal. So then we kind of revisited and did some shared decision making with this patient on what she felt would be most helpful, and did a more standard buprenorphine induction. And she did have 3 months of abstinence from kratom and maintenance on 16 milligrams of buprenorphine. In the end, though, she made the decision that is treatment for chronic fatigue and pain, that she would prefer to resume use of kratom. That the benefits outweighed the downsides. And what we're seeing, though, is in the first month, there was that escalation in the dose that we had seen previously. So kind of a complicated situation. My conclusions are that while it's not as ubiquitous as some of the other substances that we've talked about, it's something, kratom is something that a significant proportion of the US population is using. It's something that, as we think about the opioid epidemic, is likely to get more prominent as people seek ways to either wean off of different opioids or seek a similar opiate-like effect. It's just all of these types of substances are getting more common in our society. It's being used for chronic pain, depression, and opiate dependence. And some of the pathophysiology points to potentially less toxicity than other opiates that people use. That being said, there's evidence for dependence, toxicity, and withdrawal symptoms in patients that can be very severe and even life-threatening. Because of that, the regulatory status of Kratom is sort of in flux with different state-by-state decisions on what is an appropriate level of risk to sort of guide regulation. And it's widely available in Seattle. So your patients have access to it. And we have some emerging evidence that buprenorphine can be used to treat Kratom addiction and dependence, much similar to the way that we use it for other opiate use disorders. And here are my references. I'll take any questions if there are any.
I'm gonna leave that there. I will drop the link again just in case you wanted to hear the last closing remarks. But I did want to say congratulations to April. Opiates is very, I don't gotta tell you, right? It's very something hard to get off of, and it's very serious. But I commend you for doing what you needed to do. And getting on Suboxone, and it seems like you're working that plan, and that works really good for you, and that is great to hear. I hope that you continue. It sounds like you're on the right track. You said that's behind you, and that is amazing. Strong, things like that where it's hard for you to just a lot of times people fear withdrawal and things like that. And I can commend anybody that can admit that they were on a strong drug and put it past them and do whatever they need to do in their little plan to, become healthy and put that past them. I don't want to see nobody on no drug like that. But of course it happens. Again, though, we have to remember to, support people that have been there and have put that past them. So I just wanted to extend that as well. God's girl was sharing with us about, what had interest her in the case. And also my brother was on life support as well. I'm not the one that made the final call. I didn't want really any part of that, but it just got to a point where the doctors were like, there's no brain activity here. And that's what they were gonna kind of do, it seemed like. Because for a while it seemed like they let it be up to us, and then at a certain point, they, were like, this is something we got to do, and just prolonging it. They weren't gonna just do it, but I don't know. It was uncomfortable, so I kind of zoned out on that. But I can definitely feel you and understand where you're coming from with that. And my condolences for your brother. Also, it looks like April and God's girl had found the channel. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Today we looked at Kratom. Tomorrow, if I do come, I might sit down tomorrow to research a couple other things or whatever. But I at least want to knock out Ativan and Xanax, since it was included in this case, just to see. But we do know that things like rat poisoning, if she had put rat poisoning in the kratom, that it would have kind of the bitterness, they're both bitter, so it would have kind of masked the taste. I don't know. Just something about this case does not seem right. And I don't really know what direction I'm going with this case, but I am sincere in looking into this case. We did get some trolls last premiere I did. Somebody came in there oh, he should pass away and all that, fuck him and this, that, and the other, because he was with a non-black woman. It seemed, in my opinion, look, that is not, I don't care about that. that's his choice, not mine. I would never just say, well, because you dated outside of your race that you deserve what is coming to you. I think that that's ignorant. So I just wanted to say that if you do have a wrench in here, and as we kind of pick up, I'm kind of just like, after I discovered that Molly Go Lightly and Without a Crystal Ball were just not my type of, like, my cup of tea, that kind of put me in a place where I'd already invested a lot of hours into this case, yet what I had seen, I didn't feel it would be appropriate as far as my, like, morally standing to show it. You know, y'all can go and look. It's nothing wrong, but like, if I just know that somebody ain't shit, then I'm, you know, I'm not finna go through with that. You know what I mean? Thank you, God's girl, for the donations. I'll check it. The donation, I'll check it afterwards. I can see Cash App right here. I did get other donations. Thank you so much. But yeah, I'm gonna continue to look into this case because that's kind of what we do over here. Yeah, I do talk crap a little bit, you know, about some other people in my sector and stuff. Like, we get into it. And sometimes, you know, I use potty words, you know, cuss like a sailor or whatever. But, you know, I do have other channels. So if you are new to my channel, check out my other channels. I have a true crime channel, which has some pretty heavy documentaries. I'm getting tired. Interrogations on there. That channel is where we look at the darker and disturbing cases. All cases are darker and disturbing, but that's just that. But on all of my channels, pretty much anyone I can get to, we do talk about true crime over here. So I have covered several cases as well. But I would just, you know, all you gotta do is look on my page and you could check out my other channels. If you like them, subscribe. I appreciate you. Again, shout out to Jeanette for coming up yesterday and talking about her deal with Kratom, because I had never heard about it. So this live that I did today is really like the second time that I heard about it. And I'm glad though that if, you know, people run into it, I'm not saying don't do it, but like, just be mindful about your dosage. I hope going forward, anybody that didn't know about it and stuff like that understands that, you know, anything, there's precautions, even with like food or something. Hey, Sincere, how you doing? Shout out to Sincere. What's good, Crazy? I mean, Hood Therapy. I was about to say Crazy Third Eye. Thank you for joining today. Like I said, I want to look at Xanax and Ativan since that's what Dre was on, and I want to continue to look at it. But I also got to get this IRL video out. If you don't know, the IRL sector is in real life, and they kind of like stream in real life. But yesterday I did a video on it. Basically was just documenting the you know, the behavior of the crima sector, I think it's called, and things like that, just to point out, because oftentimes in my sector and other sectors, you'll hear only the Black community acts like this, only the Black people do this and that and the fifth. And so it kind of had me looking into things, you know. But we do talk about some very serious things over here, CPS cases, you know, kidnapping, I am a sexual abuse survivor. I have been in domestic abuse, so we do cover those as well. But thank you for those that have discovered my channel. I appreciate you. And with that said, stay you, stay royal, stay uncompromisable, and please stay woke, because you will see me or hear my voice in another live stream. I'm going to try to, or video. I'm going to try to get another video up and premiered on, maybe I'll do that IRL one, but I'm going to try to come back tomorrow. Well, you know, I work at night, well, online. So it'll probably be at night or whatever. Probably, I don't know. I probably won't be 10 o'clock p.m. Central Time like it was today, but I was running a little late and almost didn't even go live. But normally I go live about 6, 7, 8-ish Central Time, but I'll maybe drop something in the community tab area so that you can understand like what my plans are or whatever. So anyway, much love to those that have come and check this out. Again, thank you, Jeanette, for letting us know. You know, you had sparked up some interest. Like, maybe we need to look deeper into this and things like that. And again, I don't think that he had gotten, you know, I don't think that Kratom, you know, is the reason why, but I do think that she had a benefit of giving it to him. Like I said, maybe to mask the poison or whatever. I don't know. But I do think that Kratom added to his, you know, not way of thinking, but like, you know, his depression. And it seems like once you come off of it or things like that, it can add to aggressive feelings. But I think the most important thing to remember is how and what Marvon had said in the beginning of this live stream when we were listening to him speak, and he was asking for help and she was trying to talk him out of it. And like was mentioned in the chat, somebody had said that you know, she was giving him Kratom and she asked him, did he want another? We've seen her throw back Kratom herself. Again, I'm not knocking use of Kratom, but let's just be mindful. And obviously, if it's illegal in your state, you probably shouldn't be using it. But let's be mindful what you're putting in your body, and also be mindful of dosage when it comes to this. I myself would not be interested in this. I'm more of a weed girl myself, but you know, that's me, to each their own. But yeah, much love, you guys. I'm not even gonna play a song or whatever. Normally I do that too in the beginning and the end of my lives, just while people get in here, while we wind down the stream. But I'm just gonna get out of here. I'm tired and I want to get something to eat and go to bed. I had to get up in a little while. I don't even know. But much love. I will see you guys or interact with y'all tomorrow. Much love. Bye-bye.